like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on Tampa, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy and you probably smell the crooked referees or Roger Goodell. Yeah, money like this and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this and I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
All right. Shout out to the mighty Who Dat Nation, man. Welcome. Thank you guys for being in the stream, man. We coming at you rough and rugged live, man. The Saints, man, this is training camp live. Now we're going to have this coming through to the rest of the mighty Who Dat Nation as the Saints are preparing for the live press conference. We'll hear from Mickey Loomis and head coach Kellen Moore, man. So shout out to you guys. Appreciate you for being in the stream. Much love. Hit the like button, hit the whatchamacallit button, the hype button. Light it all up. Appreciate y'all for being in the stream, man. Y'all let me know how my sound is doing, if I'm coming through loud and clear for you guys. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate y'all for being in the live, man. We up in this thing representing the mighty Who Dat Nation, man. So we looking forward to see exactly what Mickey Loomis and the Saints going to do. And here he is. Oh, here I go, man. I don't like what you're talking about. Here I go. Here you go, man. Here's Mickey. Put one in the chat if y'all can hit.
Welcome. We're anxious to get training camp started. I got a quick announcement here. We put two players on PUP today, Keyshawn Silver and Mason Tipton. We expect those guys to be back pretty quickly. We placed on NFI Xavier Harris relative to an injury he had in college. Don't expect that to be very long. And Cody Hardy as well, who didn't pass the conditioning test today. Jordyn Tyson's good to go. Yes. Yeah, if I didn't mention them, then they're good to go. Doug Miller's good to go. I think back there. No, we had a couple guys that got caught up in some airline flight issues. So, but we knew about it, and they'll be in later today. Yeah, I feel good. Yeah, I think. Look, we've got. I feel like there's a lot of enthusiasm, optimism, and I think we got a good mindset as a team. So, yeah, that's been the case all of this off season, and certainly felt it today. Yeah, well, listen, we're having a lot of discussions. We have meetings, and we're just not there yet. We're hopeful. Yeah. Absolutely, yes. Yeah, we want to get it done, and Chris and his agents, Jason and Drew Rosenhaus, I know they want to get it done. We all do, but look, it's got to be right for both parties. Would you say you're optimistic? I hate saying that when it comes to negotiations, because it seems like sometimes when I'm pessimistic, they get done, and when I'm optimistic, they don't. That's happened. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a question for him, but he was certainly here today, and And look, Chris has been as enthusiastic and optimistic as anyone. So really, really appreciate the way he's conducted himself. And that's not just this year, that's every year with Chris. So he's an absolute joy to have on our team.
Full go now with no restrictions.
Yes.
The decision to bring Alvin back, just what went into that, and how did it get done ultimately?
Yeah, that was just an ongoing discussion. What's the contract going to look like? What's the role look like? And Alvin's another guy that was really great in terms of expressing his desire. He's always said he wants to play for the Saints his entire career. I appreciate that. Same thing with Cam. Those two guys, I couldn't be more excited that they're with us. They have the opportunity to continue their career with the Saints and only the Saints. I think that's really special, and it's meaningful to them and meaningful to us.
What's the main reason that figuring out Alvin's contract took until like mid-July? Why wasn't that something you guys could pinpoint earlier?
These decisions are, sometimes they're fluid, and yeah, I don't really have an explanation for that other than it just took a while.
Hey, name's Petey, aka Peter Pan. I tried staying young forever, but turns out AAA makes being an adult kind of awesome.
Tyler, and I know your guys' message inside has been like it's been 9 games. Kind of, how do you manage the noise?
That can be difficult. And yes, there's a lot of optimism out there, which we like. We like expectations. I want our guys, and I want us to have expectations that that we want to meet, but we can't let the expectations interfere with the process. And we're counting on some young players, some core players from the last 2 drafts to get better. We just are. I was thinking today about Kool-Aid. The leap that Kool-Aid made from year 1 to year 2 was pretty good. We need him to make another leap. Quincy Riley came in here last year as a 4th-round pick, ended up starting a lot of games for us. But we need him to take another step forward from year 1 to year 2, just like Kool-Aid did the year before. So, we've got a lot of guys in that category that we're optimistic about. But they still have to perform. They have to get better. And our coaches and myself, all of our building, we have to create an environment where they can get better and help them to do that. And so, and that's incumbent upon our veteran players as well. We're counting on veteran players to come in here and perform consistently and lead. Take the mantle that, DeMario had at times. So it's about performance and leadership. There's just a lot of things that come with the improvement that we're going to need to go from a 6-win team to competing for the division and trying to make the playoffs.
What did you guys learn about the team last year, like through the first 8 weeks, about how it handled adversity and all that stuff that you think might help them handle expectations?
Yeah, that was encouraging because, years ago, general manager I worked for said that, hey, you're 3 losses away from a mutiny. Lose 3 in a row, you've got to, guard against a mutiny. And so that was never the case. And we lost more than 3 in a row. But that was never the case. These guys stayed the course. The coaches, very impressive. Players impressive. They just kept working, kept grinding, trying to improve, understanding each week. What was stopping us from winning, what was preventing us from winning, and trying to correct that. And it was Mike McCormick, our general manager, when I first, the guy that hired me originally, Yeah.
How did Kellen's temperament, I guess, kind of help? How much growth did you see from him last season?
Yeah, look, he's got an even keel temperament, and that was on full display last year. And look, It doesn't mean that inside he wasn't churning and grinding and upset, but stayed the course. It was impressive.
You seeing different things from him right now, like just in his growth or evolution or comfortability here?
Yeah, I think that's natural and would occur with any coach, any new coach in particular. Yeah, there's a confidence in what he's doing and confidence in the plan. And I feel that throughout our staff as well. So,
Mickey, with the skill set, what kind of expectations do you have the impact that Etienne could have?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's a really good runner for our team, right? And fits the scheme that we want to run. And I think a lot of that is going to be answered in training camp. I mean, we think we know what he does well, but I think that this training camp is about understanding exactly what he does well and then putting him in the position to be successful. And, our coaches are going to do that. And, one of the things that was encouraging about this offseason was I think the offensive line, for example, I don't think they missed a single workout. I don't think a single guy missed a single workout that I can recall. And so that was encouraging to see those guys come together and resolve to be one of the better offensive lines in our league. And so I think that, that's the starting point, obviously, for any running back.
Put together, and does him being here now kind of, free Alvin up to?
Yeah, I mean, those are the kinds of things that, we get answered during training camp. Alvin wasn't part of our team during the off-season program. He came for the OTAs, the mini camp, but I think those are things that get settled during training camp, and I'm not worried about it, to be honest with you.
I know we may not talk to you again over the next week or so, so just in 10 days, you've had friends and other players go to the Hall of Fame. Just what is it going to mean for you to see Drew being enshrined?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. I don't really know until we get there, and look, I went through this with Cortez Kennedy, who I was really close to when he was enshrined, and I remember being pretty emotional, a lot more emotional than I expected to be. And so I kind of think the same thing's going to happen here. I mean, it's a little bit different with Drew because I think the minute he retired, we all just expected 5 years.
Hey, name's Petey, a.k.a. Peter Pan. I tried staying young forever, but turns out AAA makes being an
So I think the emotion of that is really going to be felt on that day, and just excited for him. He deserves it. He's such a great person, so meaningful to, the city of New Orleans and the organization. And, he contributed to a lot of people's success here, mine in particular. So it'll be emotional. I'm just excited for him and his family.
How much of a gamble did it feel back then with him?
Yeah, it was a bit of a gamble. Mr. B used to say that he hated gambling, and I reminded him, we kind of rolled the dice on Drew with that shoulder, and we rolled the dice on a young coach, and so that's kind of gambling too. But look, we had so much information and such a belief in the person that Drew was that, and I've said this before, yeah, we weren't sure that he was going to be healthy and ready to go in season one or win in season one. But I think we had a lot of confidence that at least within a 2-year period, we would get the player we expected. Now, he far exceeded expectations. So as a player, so, and he obviously exceeded expectations in terms of coming back from that shoulder injury so quickly. So,
What are the signs you look for when you're talking earlier about those players making a jump? Like this time of year, what are you kind of looking for as camp develops, whether that jump is happening or meeting expectations?
Well, I think the first thing is look, we get to observe them during the off season. Are they here? Are they working hard? Are they intent? intentional with, the things that they're working on in the off season? Is it things that they are weak at, or are they just, falling back on their strengths? And so we've seen some of that. When you come to this training camp, the first thing is, are they in shape? And it was really encouraging to see, guys in shape. We've got a lot of players who's managing their weight properly. So that's exciting. But we'll get more of that, more of those indications as we go through this first, few days of camp and as we get into it.
Last season, you mentioned Cesar Ruiz is a guy that you wanted to kind of get more from.
Yeah.
You also mentioned he was a good player.
Yeah.
So what are the things that maybe you're looking for throughout camp to signal those?
Yeah, I think first of all is just acknowledgement, which Caesar's done. He's his worst critic, and so he's a competitor, and look, it's all been good with Caesar so far, so I'm excited about that. And again, that's relative to the whole offensive line.
Thank you. With the young player like Jordyn Tyson, how do you balance you being cautious with him throughout that summer program with like wanting to get him the work that he needs?
Yeah.
And does he have like any ground to make up when you guys start camp?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think he's a smart player, so I think the mental side we're going to be fine with. We're relying on the training staff. We're relying on Ted Rath and his staff to guide us in terms of, what's enough, what's too much, what's too little. And, one thing I've discovered in the last season was Ted Rath knows his stuff. And so we're going to rely on him and Ben and Sean in terms of managing him through this early part of training camp. But it's all been really good so far.
Has your guys' aggressiveness, like a wide receiver and just kind of churning and just looking for different answers, going back to last year to even in OTAs, bringing in new guys, like, is this the most aggressive you guys have been at that position? Is that anything new or different in philosophy?
Yeah, I don't really think so. Maybe it feels like that, but look, we're always looking for, good players and some of that may be a little bit driven by, the market for receivers now. It's so high that you're going to be able to play one top receiver generally, and you're going to have to, fill in with other guys. So the more, the better, and hopefully we hit on all of them and they're all become top of the market type guys.
I'm sorry. You talked about young players making a leap this year. Are you expecting the coaching staff to make a leap from year one to year two?
Look, we've got experience and really good coaches, so I'm not worried about them in terms of them making a leap. I'm worried about them helping, and I'm not worried about it really. Our coaches are going to help our young players. They're going to give them the environment and the tools to improve, and I know we'll do that.
How important is it going to be for the young defensive linemen that you invested in, that they take that next step and contribute?
Yeah.
In the interior D line.
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, one of the guys was Vernon Broughton, right? And we drafted him last year, 3rd round, and had high expectations. He got hurt. It's not his fault. He got hurt, but we have expectations for him, and he's been around. He's been doing really well. So I'm anxious to see that. That's part of this training camp. It's almost like a rookie year for him. Yeah. There's a lot of those guys, though.
With Chris Olave's contract negotiations, the nature of the issues he's dealt with the last 2 years, the concussions and the blood clots, has that made it more unique, more difficult for you to navigate and not having a lot of real comps to base that kind of stuff off of? And how much has that affected the process?
Yeah, it's an element. It's a variable in there. And, I don't want to get into the details of what we talk about, but that's certainly a variable.
Kind of the same, like with the way that that position specifically has gone up in value as you guys are talking, like that would be another variable.
Yeah, that's a variable. Yeah.
What do you like about the way you noticed Kellen Moore attacking his first full off season after having a season under his belt? What he prioritized, how he went about I guess maybe even February, March, April, even before you
Yeah.
get the players on the field?
I just think that he was professional about it. He was. We talked about the things we didn't do well and how we can how we can adjust going forward, what we need to emphasize, and look, he's very detailed, very much I think a planner. How do we get the focus on the right things, and so it was all impressive and not unexpected. That's what we expected when we went through the interview process, and I would say all that came to fruition.
For a second, you talked about the off-season workouts. Of course, Tyler taking the guys for workouts onto the West Coast with Drew. How much did you appreciate seeing that?
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that. One thing about Tyler that I think we've discovered pretty quickly is that he's very intentional. He's very mature, and he too has like a plan for things, and not afraid to ask questions, not afraid to get assistance, and not afraid to dive in with the intention of, hey, I've got to be better, I've got to get better. It's a race for him to improve because we're gonna go as far as he can take us.
Following up on that, Mickey, you saw 9 games of him last year. It's not like the full season sample size.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did he show you some stuff this offseason that like really even further kind of cemented what you saw in those 9 games? And
Yeah, I would say yes. I think a lot of it has to do with the intangible part of it more than the tangible part.
I'm paraphrasing here, but I remember when Cam came back, one of the things he said was, I talked to Mickey and he said, I need to make sure you're all in, kind of no matter what your role is, and he said, I'm always all in. Is that a conversation you have to have with Alvin, knowing that his role may be different?
Well, I always have those conversations with, our players and veteran players, especially, when the circumstances change. Because if the circumstances are the same, you don't really have to have that conversation because it's been demonstrated. But when circumstances change, you got to make sure that we're transparent about that. It gets down to expectations. We certainly have expectations of our players, and they should have expectations of us. And so I just want to always make sure that the player knows what our expectations are, and we know what their expectations are. So before we get to a point where we haven't met, either one of us haven't met it, and then we have an issue. So those conversations are pretty common with me and with veteran players in particular.
Outside you want them to finish their careers here because they've been lifelong Saints. Like, what value do you think they still, like Alvin and Cam, still bring to a group that's relatively young, in this roster, and what they still have left to give?
Look, they're good. They're really good players. First of all, listen, if you can't play on the field, then they can't play, right? For a team, but because this is that type of business. These guys, have a lot left in the tank, I think, and it's up to us to put them in a positions that we can take advantage of that. Outside of that, though, they've got big resumes, both of them, and they have influence on our team, and so a positive influence, and so we just want to make sure that they're free to exercise that, and they know that, and they'll do that in the right way.
Clarification on when you were talking about relying on trainers and their plan with Jordyn Tyson.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, does that indicate still some level of like a plan to ramp up early on in camp before he's full go?
Well, we have this acclimation period, right? So, we'll talk about at the end of each day, how the day went for each player. And look, they're just guys, because of the off season, because of where he was at, he's one of several players. Hey, we just got to keep our eye on here, and we'll rely on Ted and his staff and the training staff to do that for us. Bobby.
How do you view the trend with teams utilizing multiple tight ends and having success? You think that's going to go and come, or as long as teams are having success, there's a copycat?
Yeah, you know that, Bobby. listen, if somebody's doing something well, then we're going to do it too, and everybody else is, and hopefully we're leading that charge and not as opposed to following it.
Is Jordyn dealing with the same thing from like February, like the hamstring from?
Yeah,
that's like 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had a recurrence of it prior to us, drafting him, and so we've just been cautious, really. There's a lot of stuff he could have done, but we've been super cautious about it.
On that idea of being at the forefront of those trends, as this team has taken on kind of its new shape and embraced where it's headed anew, how would you describe what the kind of identity of the club is at this point moving forward, even if it's still taking shape?
Yeah, I think that remains to be seen. I think that's part of training camp, and we've got a lot of new receivers, young receivers. Devon Vele's not a new or a young one, but he's only been here a short period of time. So we've got to get that sorted out. Juwan's been here a long time. We know what he can do. We got a new running back to pair with Alvin, and so there's a lot of elements that we're going to have to see what everyone does well, and our coaches will do that.
When was the recurrence for Jordan's?
Yeah, it was back in the offseason prior to us having him, so it wasn't a big deal.
In the back here, hey.
Yeah.
A heat safety question. It's more big picture, but you've been in the league about 3 decades or so. Now, how have you seen that before?
I was adding up today. This is like more than 40 training camps, so that's basically 4 years I've been in training camp of some sort. Now, I'm not a player, so I'm not dealing with I enjoy it actually, so I don't want to compare it to some grind or something really hard, but 4 decades.
From maybe an old school approach where practicing in the heat was about stamina to where now there's a lot more, I guess, health consciousness, and especially in the 25 years since the Corey Stringer tragedy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the medical staff does a fantastic job of paying attention to the heat, and we have to do a great job because of the environment down here. Obviously, the practice time on the field in pads is much shorter than it used to be, and that, that's a good thing relative to the heat illness and the heat issues. But it's night and day difference. I mean, when I started, I think training camp was 6 or 8 weeks. There was 2-3 hour fully padded practices every day for a good period of time, and it was just different. I'm not saying it was better or worse. It was just different, and I think obviously the science and the technology is much better today than it was then. So I think guys around the league do a good job with this, and yet we got to be really diligent about player safety.
Just one more question about Drew. Just kind of looking back all these years, talked about it being a gamble. Was there like a moment that he did something, whether it was off the field or a game, that you thought, wow, like this is it, like this guy really could be special for organization?
There was a lot of those. As the years went on, there was a lot of those. I don't know that I can pinpoint any one thing. There was just so many times, and look, there was growth too. When we signed Drew and Drew got here, I don't think anybody in our building thought, man, we got a Hall of Fame quarterback. We thought we had, a good quarterback, and if he gets healthy, a good quarterback to pair with a good young coach. But they, kind of grew together along with the rest of our team, and Drew became a Hall of Fame player. And I think probably 2009, maybe that 2009 season, it was like, okay, wow. But there were signs of it all the time. I think early on, we could recognize the leadership capability and the confidence that he had in himself, and that bled over to the rest of the team pretty quickly.
What's it mean for you when you see somebody like Caden Ellis, when he took in the 7th round.
Yeah.
To go on to have the type of career he's had, and you know, for you watching that happen, and then like what made you want to bring him back?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of pride. I think anytime you draft a player, and you know, particularly players that are in the latter half of the draft and they develop into, you know, all pro, Pro Bowl, you know, have success, that man, that makes you feel good, right? Kind of pissed off that he was in Atlanta, you know, for those years and doing that. Just like, you know, you don't like to see that, but you're happy for the player, but kind of mad that, you know, you didn't see it sooner and keep him here. It's really fun to have Caden back. He's such a great person, always been a great person, always had a hunger to develop and be a really good player, and to have him come back and be excited about coming back, that's been gratifying. Yeah, but I'm look, I wish, you know, I want success for every.
Hey, name's Petey, aka Peter Pan. I tried staying young forever, but turns out AAA makes being an adult kind of awesome. Growing up doesn't have to mean giving a member.
It really drew in Shaugh's first year, considering what happened, you know, Katrina, and going from worst to first. Is that maybe one reason why you think the fan base is optimistic? Oh, this has happened before, we can do this.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, it happens around the league, right? We just saw New England do something, you know, spectacular. I think they had 4 wins right the year before, and they ended up in the Super Bowl. So it can happen in our league. That's one of the great things about the NFL, is that things can turn around pretty quickly. And you know, we've had that happen. So yeah, I think that's part of the optimism. I think that you know, obviously, you know, quarterback play, having young players do special things, having a 4th round pick become a starter, you know, at corner, those kinds of things give you hope. And yeah, look, it happened with us, really, if you think about it, in the 2017 draft. You know, we hit on a bunch of players and went from having a 7-9 record to having a really good run with that group. And I would say that 2017 class was kind of the catalyst for that.
Just because of the way the roster's kind of changed in the last couple of years, are you a faster team? Like, has that been like maybe a focus of y'all? Is this just kind of getting speed with some of the people you're drafting? And
Yeah, I think that there was a little bit of an emphasis on that the last couple of years. Yes. Yeah, I think we recognize that we need to be a little more explosive.
just like an internal thing. That's something you want specifically to address.
Yeah.
Is speed.
Is there anything else along those lines that, I mean, as you guys have gotten younger, that you feel like we're better in this area or areas?
Well, I mean, again, that was a question about, was there something that we wanted to emphasize? That was one of the things that we talked about. Now, you don't always get it accomplished, and, you know, not necessarily every player, but that specifically was something we talked about. We need to be a little more explosive.
When did you hear or had heard about the Kristen Miller story?
Yeah, I heard about that. That's pretty cool. You know, I think a lot of our players do things like that pretty often, and it doesn't happen to get publicized, but that's a really cool thing.
Did you receive any type of trade maybe in August? Remember how significant that was with Jacksonville, the trade, when Saunders, he's with the Jags, and you know, you always want to have depth, and
Yeah.
that was a big trade that really helped the offensive line, considering the
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we haven't had any discussions about that yet. I think right now, you know, I've talked to a few guys around the league, and it's just about, hey, where do you feel like you're heavy? You know, where you light? But nothing concrete. That'll happen, I think, probably 2 or 3 weeks into training camp. Some of it's driven by injury. Some of it's driven by, you know, you have a younger player or two that maybe you didn't expect to develop as quickly as they have. And so, but that'll be a large part of the discussions that we have, you know, in the middle of August.
I feel like that precedent, or like, does that set like a precedent for you? Like, or like, you feel like you found something there to maybe try and explore it again down the road rather than just like wait for waivers? Or
No, I mean, that's just business as usual.
When you look back to where this team was a year ago, at
Yeah.
this point, with the unknown quarterback, how much better do you think you feel about
say you feel about where you are now?
Well, look, I'm always optimistic. I can always envision a path to success. It doesn't always come out that way, but always optimistic. I think last year, the quarterback question was, a little more up in the air than it is this year. And look, we obviously feel good about where Tyler's at, but I also feel good about, Spencer and having Zach Wilson in the building. And so I think that's probably the difference between last year and this year.
How you feel going back to prime time?
Yeah, I look at it like that's what it is. It is what it is. I kind of liked having, a game every Sunday and having a routine. That's good. And now this year it's going to be different. We have this game in Paris and as you said, we got a couple prime time games. So it's good that's more about the fans, I think, than it is about the players and the team. Because we like routine.
Is this the Kellen Moore decision, or are you involved? But now you see, I think it's only 3 teams that aren't practicing against other teams. When you're going to go against the Jags, the Rams, and in Dallas, I mean, not so much playing in the preseason game, but actually the practice.
Yeah.
Guys you're counting on and participating more in that area than the actual preseason game.
Yeah, we talk a lot about that. We talked about it a year ago, and we talked about it at the beginning of this year. And I think both of us see it the same. We like practicing against other teams. And, this year we're practicing against 3 really good teams, three really good rosters. It's good for us. It's good for particularly our, younger guys to measure themselves against, teams that are really good in our league. And so it's a controlled environment. And so you probably feel a little better about that than a preseason game in terms of, playing your guys. But all of it's good development for us. We're in the development stage, right? We're in a race to get better. Particularly, where we're at in terms of our development. And so every opportunity that we can have, we're going to take. And this year, we're lucky to have, 3 good opportunities to practice against teams. And I'm looking forward to that.
So to see how the edge rushing rotation kind of shakes out here.
Say that again?
For edge rusher, just how the rotation shakes out. Are you kind of interested in seeing how that unfolds?
Yeah, because look, it looks like we've got some depth there, which is unusual, for any team. And we've got a lot of guys that we think can rush the passer. So it's a good problem to have.
You mentioned things for the fans. I know y'all are doing a big 60th season celebration all year long. I'm sure you'll reminisce when your career, whenever it ends. But given the fact that you've been here for almost half of that, when you hear 60 seasons, do you talk about it, think about it in some way?
I try not to. Yeah, I try not to. I'd like to have another, 40 seasons, but obviously that's not going to happen. I don't think much about it. In fact, I just saw that it was our 60th season about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that there were some, things that we're going to do. But I don't really think about that. I'm just focused on right now. Anything else?
Thank you,
Are you
Mickey.
going to Canton for Drew?
What's that?
Will you be in Canton?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Wouldn't miss it.
Thanks, Mickey. Thanks, Mickey.
All right, shout out to Mickey Loomis, man. Mick was in there and dropping some science, fam. Shout out to you guys for being in the stream on this one. Big Q representing the mighty Who Dat Nation, man. Listen, that was Mickey. Slick Mick Loomis dropping some science about what's going on with the team, and pretty much it is what it is. So shout out to you guys in here. Much love, as Mickey Loomis. There you go. Not quite you, brother. He got a lot more salt and pepper. This is a younger Slick Mick from back in the day, man. So look like they ended the press conference right there. It might be another one where they'll have Kellen Moore on or whatever. We'll kind of delve into it. But let's kind of go over some of the talking points from what Mickey Loomis dealt with that we were able to gather from this press conference. And hold on, just for a second, fam. Let me see if I can pull up my list right here. Kind of on the road right now, but big ups to you guys. Appreciate you for being in the live on this one, man. Much love. Jack, I see you, fam. He said, I don't even know He said I didn't even know I was a senior. Mickey Loomis been more boy. Usually that don't happen when you get a guy that be with an organization that long, man. And Mickey Loomis been with the Saints for a very, very long time, man. And yeah, man, that's crazy how long Mickey's been there. But a couple of things to touch on. We got a few of the decisions. We know that Kendre Miller. Now we heard Mickey Loomis did mention the fact that a few of the players, defensive lineman Keyshawn Silver, wide receiver Mason Tipton will open the camp on the physically unable to perform list. All right, that's what Mickey said, and we know that to be true. We also know that Jordyn Tyson was also available. He'll be available for camp, but Mickey Loomis also let people know that it'll be somewhat of a ramp up for Tyson. I say Tyson Fury. Jordyn Tyson. But that wouldn't be a bad nickname, man, because if we can get this kid, we can get Jordyn Tyson furious on the football field, and hell, that might be a great nickname for him to have. Tyson Fury. The flabby boxer. Tyson's behind his days is long gone, but y'all get the point. But nonetheless, he had a few things to talk about there to make mention of the fact that, like I said, he mentioned the Chris Olave extension. He was saying, quote, "We're just not there yet." That's what Slick Mick said. We're just not there yet on that. So there's still, now this was something that that obviously that they wanted, that we know that Chris Olave wants, right? He wants that to happen. He wants the contract. And Mickey said I don't know what's going on with it. They're just, Mickey Loomis just taking way too long to get this done. But here's some of the notes that I took, fam, from the presser today with Slick Mick Loomis. Is that number one, Chris Olave's extension. We're just not there yet on what they need to do about Chris Olave, which is a shame because this has been dragging on for I don't know how long, and we just need him just to get it over with, bro. Just sign the man, for goodness sake. But we heard what the insiders say, Nick Underhill among others, saying that this could be a done deal by before the opening of regular season, which is something that Chris Olave didn't want to happen. He wanted it to be taken care of prior to the opening of training camp, which is obviously about to happen. The other presser to talk about, Jordyn Tyson, was cleared. He passed the conditioning test and is good to go for camp. Mickey also alluded toward the back of the presser that ramping him up gradually remains a possibility. So it won't be the fact that Slick Mick Loomis will ultimately, say, okay, this, that, and third. He gave some credit to Ted Rath. And like I said, fam, for people who know, a lot of the Saints' fortune and what they're about to do, a lot of the positive stuff is going to happen with the Saints because of the conditioning of the medical staff. Let's just keep it all the way funky. That wasn't the case some years ago. And we know when Kellen Moore stepped in the door, he brought Ted Rath with him. And Ted Rath has been had a major impact on the Saints conditioning, basically reshaping a lot of things. And it is shown as bearing fruit in terms of a lot of our football players aren't getting hurt with these things. So he's really great at preventing the soft tissue injuries that really just completely thoroughly decimated previous teams with injury concerns. Oh my goodness. Not even just that, but it's the fact that it was something that just decimated the Pelicans as well. So having Ted Rath here for the Saints has been really, really good. So I know for certain that Jordyn Tyson will be fine. Christian Miller will be fine, and all these other guys. We had a few of these little, hiccups here or there. Those guys will be okay to go too. Number 3, player status. Put on the PUP list. We talked about that. Defensive lineman Keyshawn Silver and wide receiver Mason Tipton will start the season off on the PUP list. And on the inactive list, defensive lineman Xavier Harris, the 6'8", 6'7", I think. 6'7", 330+ pound behemoth defensive lineman Xavier Harris, and tight end Cody Hardy, who's probably one of the better blocking tight ends that we have on the team in the practice squad capacity on the back of the tight end room, are going to be inactive. So that's what Mickey Loomis says. Now, guys that we were worrying about that are going to be good to talk about, that's going to be ready and good to go for camp to make mention of. How about Kendre Miller? Let me where my clap button at here, man. Let me let me get the claps on for Kendre Miller, man. Clap it up for Kendre, man. Kendre Miller is going to be good to go. Shout out to Kendre Miller. He's going to be good to go coming up here. He don't have to start the training camp on the injured list. So that's good news as well for the black and gold. Also, other guys like Devin Neal. Remember Devin Neal got hurt. Kendre Miller was another one that was dealing with some injury. They are good to go. Mickey didn't mention them, just the guys I just talked about. So Devin Neal, Kendre Miller, they're good to go. Vernon Brockton, remember this? He mentioned Christian Miller, the defensive lineman. They're good to go. So a lot of these guys that we had some questions on about whether or not they'll be good to play will be good to go at the start of training camp. So once again, Kendre Miller is good. Devin Neal is good. Eric McCoy is good. Remember, Mickey said that whoever I don't mention, they're good to go, except for the aforementioned guys we have on the screen that I'm showing you guys here, right? So once again, Devin Neal is good to go. Kendre Miller is good to go. Bub Means is good to go. Eric McCoy is good to go. Vernon Brockton is good to go. And Christian Miller is good to go. So these are guys that are good to go for training camp, and that is a plus. That is a big plus right there. No doubt about it for the black and gold. So, man, like I said, it's going to be good going. And, of course, the final point of the Mickey presser was the offensive vision. Question was asked about Mickey Loomis in terms of getting the offense. Was it a point of emphasis for the Saints to be able to have to power up the offense? And, of course, Mickey says, yeah, the idea was to get more explosive on offense over the last couple of years, meaning this year and last year, with all of the moves, is to get faster, better, and have more impact. So that is something that they did well. So, yeah, and like I said, it's what we hearing. We know about Xavier Harris. He won't be there to open up. He's inactive, so it's Cody Hardy right now. Keyshawn Silver, the defensive lineman, and Mason Tipton. But, 4 guys right there. But outside of that, we know these guys eventually will step it up and do what they got to do. But we also do realize that Jordyn Tyson is good to go. He'll be dealing with ramp up. Like I said, remember you had the undisclosed issue that occurred with Devin Neal. He's good to go. Kendre Miller was dealing with the knee. He's good to go. Christian Miller was dealing with a hamstring. He's good to go as well. So, and of course, Eric McCoy. We don't have to worry about our guy Eric McCoy being questionable to open that. Bub Means is also good to go. And all these guys are good to go. So it's a positive, man, to see most of the Saints. The heavyweights are the more, credentialed starters, and some of the more key role players will be active for the start, of course. So this is good, man. This is good. Good game right here to open it up, the presser, right, from Slick, Mick Loomis, and the rest of the black and gold. Now, of course, the Kellen Moore presser is slated to start in 30 minutes from now. So Kellen will be, his presser will get going, and I'm going to stick around for that presser as well. We're going to react to that live from the Who Dat Nation. Shout out to you, Kelvin Washington from Phoenix, Arizona. Shout out to my boy Kelvin, way out there in Phoenix, keeping it real for the mighty Who Dat Nation out there. Shout out to you, Kelvin, Jaden, Pelicans Nola, Trey, shout out to you. OG Jerry is in this thing. Much love. Appreciate you, Jerry. Shout out to you, Benny. Appreciate you, man, for the 10 jewels, the gold coins. Much love, brother. Appreciate you for that as well. Let me see if I can fire up old Umar Johnson to show you some love, brother. Here we go.
Donations. 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 Gifts. 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 More gifts. More gifts.
All right, shout out to you, man. Appreciate you there. Donations. All right, what's up, Jack? Shout out to you as well. Much love, Benny. Appreciate you, man, for being in here as well. Shout out to my boy Tragic 504. Good to see you, my boy. It's almost time, man. When I see Tragic in the chat, that means it's getting ready for some football. We getting close. All right, what's up, Jamie? Shout out to Jamie as well. Appreciate you, Pelicans Nola. Poppy 504. If I ain't give you a shout out, man, we appreciate y'all for being in this. Also, shout out to Slick Mick Loomis in the chat. Young Slick Mick is in the chat as well. All right, 12-Eyed Cat. What's up, 12-Eyed Cat? Shout out to you, man. Appreciate you for being in the stream as well. Appreciate you guys for everything. Yes. All right, that's right. Gifts. Gifts. Now it says gifts, Jerry. No T. Like I heard that dude said months. It's how you say months. He says mumps. It's mumps. Like MUMFS. I'm like, this guy got how many degrees he said he got? He said months. He says mumps. Like you got a bad case of the mumps. It's mumps, not months. Mumps. Like, dude, where they do that at with all the degrees? What's up, Sean? Shout out to you, man. As well. Appreciate you, man. Yeah. All right. So anyway, big ups. Yeah, but that's the first thing. Now, of course, we're gonna be hearing from Kellen Moore coming up here soon, man. To see what it is. Usually they kind of have one guy, and then the next moment you got the other guy coming out. But I guess Kellen Moore wasn't ready. It took a long time for Mickey Loomis to roll out and jump out there and do something. But, man, it's looking good, man, for the black and gold. We're going to see what's happening, man, as these camps start off, man. But let's kind of look at the unofficial depth chart, man, and see what the Saints, that unofficial depth chart looks like, man. Because, listen, I'll tell you one thing, man. We got a lot of greatness that's going to be coming our way, man. So, hold on. Let me see if I can get that right for y'all, man. Get that right here for yes, there it is right there. It's the unofficial depth chart right here for the Who Dat Nation, man, looking at our team. And, of course, the Saints coming into training camp. A lot of these guys are available and ready to roll, man. So you can see with the offense coming out right and foremost, so you see a lot of these guys, the Shough and all them there, Travis Etienne Jr., Chris Olave, Jordyn Tyson. So that's the thing we asked about, where we'll see some of these guys actually available and ready to contribute right away. Remember, that's a big part of this thing, having these guys on game right away as opposed to just sitting and watching. If we can hit the ground running, and that's what the Saints are doing, the camp is has a different energy to it. Cam and Kamara are back for their final years, so you know that's going to be a point of emphasis with them, with these guys. It's going to be just like, man, listen, I'm going to lay it all out. And do what's up, Young City 9? Shout out to you. Sean says, would you say Cesar Ruiz has the most pressure going into training camp? Good question, my brother, and I would definitely say yes, he is. I'm going to tell you why. Because of the position that he plays, the right guard position has been a position of scrutiny since the left guard is no longer a position of scrutiny. A lot of people will focus their attention at the left guard position over the last couple of years. Has been very subpar. The right guard position shouldn't be the case because Cesar Ruiz has occupied that spot for some time, and he has not been as dominant as we want. But the fact of the matter, if you look at his contract, his money, the fact of the matter, Mickey's already called him out. You notice there were questions from the media. Reporters were asking Slick Mick about Cesar Ruiz. So, and putting him on blast. So, yes, indeed. a lot of people will have that microscope fixated right on the salad. So he'll let the salad don't get warped in the sun. But whatever it is, I tell you one thing, people are going to be paying attention to one Cesar Ruiz. You better believe it. Not to mention that you were able that the Saints did draft a eventual replacement for Cesar Ruiz in the personage of Jeremiah Wright, who Mickey Loomis said when asked if they'll cross train this guy, he said no, they won't cross train him. They want him strictly used that at the right guard position, which means that's a job that he's played for some time in college. Now he'll just have to worry about focusing on just doing that for the pro game. And we know that he's a menacing and run blocker. And now how good is it? Now I watched footage on him since the Saints draft, and some people see him better as a run blocker than a pass blocker. But Jeremiah Wright, when you look at the tape, he can actually move those feet, man. He was actually a lot better than I originally remember him doing. So he'll have some time before the Saints, force Cesar Ruiz off spot. I actually believe Cesar Ruiz will have his best season as a pro strictly because of the fact that people are challenging him in this way, because prior to that, he kind of floated through. Nobody was really challenging him. But now, I was saying I was like, man, this guy's always looking kind of inconsistent on tape. And it finally got up where people started realizing, hey, man, this guy need to do better than this. And now he's going to be challenged. So, yes, that is definitely the case. Shout out to you for that, bro. All right, so this is the unofficial depth chart situation with Tyler Shough, Travis Etienne Jr., Chris Olave, Jordyn Tyson, and Devine Vele as the skill position guys, with Juwan Johnson at the tight end spot. Then you see the line is Kelvin Banks, David Edwards, who we brought in here free agency-wise. Eric McCoy is healthy, and that's great to have Eric McCoy. He's the brains of the line. We know that the Shuckinator is an intelligent dude, but OG said, I don't see it, Q. I know OG, but I'm telling you, the pressure, the fact, and Teron Armstead been working with him, bro. Teron works with all of these guys. And Teron Armstead is a hell of an offensive lineman where he was, but he's been working with a lot of these guys, including the salad. And I think with 2 years remaining, I don't think Cesar Ruiz, when these 2 years are up, I think it's probably going to be a done data for him. I think Jeremiah Wright will be ready to step in that position, higher upside, cheaper money. And then, like we talked about on the previous stream yesterday, that eventually at some point after this season, when the Shuckinator dominates, and I'm telling you he will, have a stellar season, that the Saints will consider going into that third year. Remember, you got 4 years of him. He played 1 year. Next year, but will have the first year. This will be his first year, and year 2 as a full-time starter from weeks 1 all the way through. And then by the third year, when it comes around, in the 4-year contract he got with the team, they'll start thinking about extension talk in year 3, which will be next year. In 2027, they'll be looking at extension talk with the quarterback. That's usually because, most people don't want to wait to the 4th year to start talking about extension. They really have that extra timeline, that extra year, to be able to work something through and not be pinched up against, the finality of that year. And of course, you can always do the thing where you can hit them with the franchise tag, all this kind of stuff. But why do that if you can, make it work the right way? If this guy's your guy and he wants to be here, he'll make the numbers right. Then, of course, Ruiz at the right guard and Tali Fuaga. So all these guys, remember, you had injuries with most of these guys. Jordyn Tyson is good to go. He's going to be on a ramp up. Eric McCoy is good to go. Remember, you had issues with both Kelvin Banks and Tali Fuaga. Last year, both of those guys were banged up. They're good to go. The second string on offense, Spencer Rattler, AK-41, Bryce Lance, Jalen Polk, Barry Brown, Noah Fant are the skill guys. And then you go offensive line with Barry Wesley, Dylan Reduntz, who re-upped with the Saints. Torrey Simpkins is the backup for Eric McCoy. The backup for Torrey Simpkins is Will Sherman. Will Sherman will also act as a reserve center. That's another thing a lot of people had concerns about, was whether or not, they weren't really feeling too comfortable with Torricelli, but Will Sherman will also be in the backup center competition. You see what I'm saying? So that's the idea that they have. And of course, you see Jeremiah Wright at the right guard position and Xavier Truss. Then you go to the third position, Zach Wilson, the former Jet QB, is there. Devin Neal is healthy. Mason Tipton is out. We talked about that early on. Mason Tipton will be on the PUP list to start the training camp off. Ronnie Bell, Trey Palmer is there. You look at Oscar Delp is there, the tight end from Georgia. Asim Richards, who's considered one of the best of the backup tackles we have, very decent in reserve duty. Easton Kilty, Will Sherman, and Alan Haran. And then with the fourth stringers, Hunter Deckers, Kendre Miller, who's healthy, Bub Means, who's healthy, Kevin Austin Jr., Jalen Marino Cropper, Maliki Matavo, Nick Seldeveri is also on the PUP list, and I think Nick Seldeveri is they got him listed here, but I think he done basically they got pretty much going to get rid of him because of all the injuries. He can't physically play anywhere, and it's just been a bad situation since we got that guy. Alex Wolfschlager is the other guy that a lot of people want to keep an eye out. Big offensive tackle that played a lot of games in college. We'll see where he is. Of course, then we kind of cross over, and this is still missing a few people. You still got the wrestler's son as well, and we'll talk about some of that when we go to the roster look. But this is the depth chart version of the list unofficially. You see Cam, Divine Gacho, Brian Brissy, Carl Granderson, Kate Nellis, Pete Werner, Chase Young is there, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Reed Blackman, Quincy Riley in the nickel position, or the star roles, Jonas Sanker. Then the backups, you got Vernon Brockton, who's healthy. Remember, he was hurt. Good, want to see what he can do. Christian Miller had a few issues going on with the hamstring. He's good. Nate Shepard is good to go. John Ridgway, read up with the Saints. Still got him. Anthony Jennings is a guy from the Patriots who is trying to get a job with the Saints. Isaiah Stallbird, Danny Stutzman, Fadil Diggs. Looking forward to see what he can do this year. And then, of course, you look at the rest of the second stringers and TJ Hall, who's the final of the picks for this year. They expect him to be a special teams guy. Not much on the 40 times, but he's a hell of a special teams guy. Got a nose for the ball. And then you see Martin Emerson, who will challenge for a position, and Jordan Howden, who's also a guy that wants to compete against Sanker for the star role. The next group of guys, Tyree Wilson, we gave up a 5th-round pick to bring him here. He'll be a part of the defensive end rotation. Michael Hellman, who a lot of people like a lot. Michael Hellman from Central Michigan, I want to say, the Chippewas. Hellman is a really interesting player. Is really good at rushing passers. He's kind of undersized, but I like Michael Hellman's mentality. Chris Rump, the second, is there. Jackson Sermon, a linebacker. Jalen Ford, Miles Cole, Dallas Beanham is also there. They got Terrell Burgess, Isaac Giddum, and Lorenzo Styles Jr., who's the fastest Saint in terms of speed-wise. How available will he be when the time comes, right, when things happen? Then, of course, Christian Boyd, Elliot Davidson, Rajon Wright, and Beanie Bishop, who's dealing with a suspension. And that's some of your guys. And, of course, you go to the special teamers. Charlie Smith will battle against Tanner Brown, the UFL kicker, for that role. So we got a kicker competition. Ryan Wright got it locked down at the punter situation. He also will be a holder. And, of course, you look at Barron Brown. Well, Barron Brown will be the punt and kickoff guy. They'll have some other guys that'll more than likely compete against him. You're looking at guys, let me open up my roster look here. But I'm pretty sure you'll start seeing a lot of these other guys, too, stepping in there, too. Here go the full list right here, fam, of of everybody, right? We know Hunter Deckers, Rattler, Tyler Shough, Zach Wilson. Then there's Ty Chandler, the running back we picked up from the Minnesota Vikings. He's a part of the running back room. We don't want to forget him because he does have space abilities, very fast, catches the ball out the backfield as well. It has some level of special teams acumen. C.J. Donaldson, the bruising running back, I think he had like 40 touchdowns in his time with Ohio State. Audric Estime, who was really big for us down the stretch when all our running backs was hurt. Travis Etienne, the 48 or $50 million running back, the Saints will use as the featured man with AK-41 as the mentor and complement to him. Kendre Miller is healthy. You see Devin Neal, and that's your running backs. Then you go wide receivers, Kevin Austin Jr., Ronnie Bell, Barian Brown, Bryce Lance. Bub Means is healthy. Want to see what Bubs look like. Jalen Marino Cropper, another player that was added, along with Chris Olave, who was good to go. Chris Olave is also good to go. By the way, Trey Palmer, who's a speedster, return man, who will have something to say about one of those return jobs from Barry and Brown. Jalen Polk, who had an opportunity to come back. How well would Jalen Polk do? He's been working with Tyler Shough, and a lot of these wide receivers have been working with Tyler. And Brock Reichsteiner, who is the son of the wrestler, 6'2", 225, got like a Taysom Hill build, got a lot of duality to this guy. We'll see what he can do in training camp. Of course, Mason Tipton, one less player there. It's a very deep running wide receiver room, rather. Going to be interesting. Jordyn Tyson, bringing what he does. Divine Vele is the final receiver, 6'5", big guy out of Utah in his third season. And, of course, you look at Oscar Delp. Oscar Delp is there for the tight ends. Noah Fant, Saints added him. Cody Hardy is inactive. We talked about that. Juwan Johnson is the star of the group. Matavo is also going to be one of the four, I believe. Zaire Mitchell-Payton, who we picked up last year, had a few moves for the Saints. Trayton Welch did really well as a receiver, not much as a blocker. Very interesting tight end room that the Saints possess. Then you go to the offensive line. Eric McCoy, David Edwards, Dylan Redunce, Cesar Ruiz, Will Sherman, Torrey Simpkins, Jeremiah Wright, Kelvin Banks Jr., Tali Fuaga, Alan Heron, Easton Kilty, Asim Richards, Xavier Truss, Barry Wesley, and Alex Wolschlager. Those are the offensive pieces. And then the defense, because remember, all these guys are going to be in camp for the family members. This is your camp roster, right? Miles Cole, the 6'6", 280-pound defensive lineman the Saints picked up from Texas Tech. He's the guy that been on the practice squad. What could he do? Fadil Diggs, one of our picks from last year, late picks last year, looking to make a stand this year. Carl Granderson has to step it up. He's making $12, almost $13 million this year. Carl has to step it up, man. Carl got to do better than 5.5 or 6 sacks. You got to do better than that. Chris Rump, the second, is there. In his 6th year out of Duke. Tyree Wilson, 6'5", 265 from Texas in his 4th season and final of his rookie contract. Chase Young balled out last year, did really well. Then we get into the defensive tackles. Christian Boyd in the final year of his rookie deal, 6'2", 320. Brian Brissy is there. Vernon Brockton is clear and ready for some action. Divine Gacho in the final year of his deal as well. Xavier Harris is going to be on a inactive list to start the season off. Wanted to see what he was about. Christian Miller is good to go. John Ridgway, Nate Shepard got 1 year left on his deal. Keyshawn Silva is also put on the PUP list. So Javier Suggs, 6'3", 300 pounds, a lot of those. So we got a couple of guys not going to be in the defensive tackle rotation that will help until they come back. That's extra reps for some of these other guys. Then we get to the linebacker level. Caden Ellis, Jalen Ford, Anthony Jennings, Jackson Sermon from California, Isaiah Stallbird, Danny Stutzman, Pete Werner are the linebackers for the New Orleans Saints. So how y'all feel about the linebackers? We know Caden is back from the Falcons. We signed him. Jennings acts more like a defensive end than a linebacker, even though they list him here. Jackson Sermon's inexperienced. Isaiah Stallbird is a good special teams linebacker. Danny Stutzman had 50-plus tackles last year in a co-starter role with Pete Werner. So, yeah, at some point next year, you might want the Saints to start looking at drafting a linebacker that can cover and blitz. You know, we can use some more athleticism at that linebacker position, come to think about it. Then we get into the secondary. Dallas Beanham at the cornerback position. Beanie Bishop, who was suspended. Martin Emerson Jr., we picked him up from the Cleveland Browns, 6'2", 200 pounds in his 5th year from Mississippi State. Good pickup by the Saints. They really interested what Martin Emerson can do. What can he do? T.J. Hall, who was the last player drafted for us this year from out of Iowa, mostly a special team guy. Kool-Aid McKinstry. A lot of people think Kool-Aid McKinstry could be the next step up shutdown guy for the black and gold. He coming into his 3rd season. So he's been in the game for 3 years, actually. Kool-Aid's been in the game now, and it's time for Kool-Aid to show what he can do consistently. Jaden Price, who's also an undrafted guy who did good in spot duty for us. Quincy Riley, who's the other compliment right there. He got a lot of attention last year playing. Quincy Riley is good. Rajon Wright, Isaac Yinum, make it 2.7 mil this year. And Emerson at 1.5. That's over $1 million. That's over $1 million worth of savings that Mickey could have if Emerson beats out Isaac Yinum. So Yinum is in ninth year. He's one of the more senior. He's the oldest cornerback we have, but he's not really good at special teams, and he really his coverage skills have really kind of fell off the shelf, if you know what I mean. All right, then we get over to the safety side of things. Julian Blackman, who is 7 year in, but Blackman had a really solid preseason and training camp for us before things kind of went south for him with the injury, the shoulder injury. Saints signed him to another 1 year prove-it deal like they did last year. Hopefully he can stay healthy. They got him, according to the unofficial depth chart, in a starting role next to Justin Reed. And Sinker, who was there last year, is sliding to the star. So they got big plans for Julian Blackman. He just has to stay healthy to benefit those plans, right? You just have to. Terrell Burgess, another Utah cornerback or defensive back as well. Elliot Davison is there. Jordan Howden is also in his fourth and final season on his contract. Jordan Howden was another dude that a lot of us thought was really ready for bigger things. We'll see what that is. And then Justin Reed in his ninth season is going to be there. Sanker and Lorenzo Styles Jr., the brother of Sonny, who some people see him having a competitive role in the Saints secondary. What will it be? Some have him listed unofficially in the nickel position. Now he has the size and speed to play the position. He's a phenomenal athlete. His defensive ball skills could still use some help, but outside of that, that's what training camp is for, right? And of course, the special teams. Tanner Brown and Charlie Smith are our place kickers. They're battling for that job, and that's going to be interesting to see both of them because Tanner Brown's more accurate. Charlie Smith has a big leg, even though Tanner Brown has ice in his veins, but he's kicking in the UFL. Can it translate to the NFL? Ryan Wright, the punter that we brung in from the Vikings, who was, he collegiately played for the Tulane Green Wave. Good to always get some Green Waves in there. His salary this year, $3.7 million. And Zach Wood, the long-standing long snapper and the injury reserve are out players. You see it's Nick Seldeveri, who we talked about. That guy never stayed healthy, and the Saints pretty much are done with Nick Seldeveri. But this is pretty much your entire training camp roster that we went down getting ready to start this season. So we'll see exactly how all this works. We know that Kellen Moore is next up. We'll have that interview as well, and we'll see. I got it. I got the notification, my friend. I got it. We're gonna put that up momentarily. We know that eventually Kellen Moore will come on to the stage, but we know also it took a long time. Hopefully it don't take a long damn time this time for Kellen Moore to get to the stage. All right, so anyway, shout out to the fam. Any questions, comments, please feel free to throw them in the chat. Let me know how you feel. All right, Benny says, I love it. All right, shout out to Benny. All right. Shout out to once again to Sean for that question. All right, who else we got there? All right, Sean says hopefully he doesn't get turned into he hopefully he doesn't get turned into a chicken salad, right? You got a Caesar salad and you got a chicken salad, man. And the worst kind is a grilled chicken salad. So you know what time that is. A barbecue chicken salad. All right, what's up, Black Major? Shout out to you, brother. Appreciate you for being in the stream as well. Jimmy says, what's up? Jimmy says, I haven't said this in a long time. This team will definitely be in the playoffs. All right, Jimmy Mack, shout out to you, my brother. Appreciate that. Very positive and, an optimistic commentary. But listen, man, I concur, sir. I concur. And not just because, you know why, Jimmy? Why the Saints are definitely going to be in the playoffs, because you feel that energy, don't you? You see, you know how teams move when they're about the business of winning and being successful. It's a vibe, it's a energy, it's a motion, it's a dance, it's a pattern, it's a rhythm, right? And they have it. They have it. Kellen Moore. The toughest thing Kellen had to do was find him not saying that's just the only thing, but one of the toughest things he had to do to turn around the team's fortunes was he knew he had to find a quarterback. He did that. He found a quarterback in the Shuckinator. Now, the next thing he needed to do was establish identity. He's established an identity. He's established an identity. And the third thing was, once he found his quarterback, established the identity, the third thing would be to build around those initial things, the quarterback and identity, and play from that standpoint. Because for the Saints to win, the offense must be, ain't gonna be explosive, but we know there'll be games where the Saints will win. What is it? Probably like 10-7 or 13-6. Or we know there'll be games like that when the teams will be playing so well, where we won't be playing as perfect as we think we should be playing perfect, and we might sneak out one 13-7 or 13-10. We do know there are games like that we'll have to win. The tough ones, we have to win the close ones, the tough ones, and we know there'll be a couple of games where we beat them by a couple of touchdowns, right? But we do realize that this team's energy and the way they're behaving, not just when I say team, I mean team, fam. The Shuckinator has been as good as advertised, and what I mean by that is, after the season was over with, he went on a run of I ain't gonna say testify, but doing interviews and all this kind of stuff. Did all these interviews, right? With all these different folks, right? And when he's doing all these interviews, you can listen to him saying, even though he did stuff that broke records in the city, he was still saying stuff like, we hadn't done anything. Despite the fact that we finished the season at 5-3, we still was last in the NFC South, which shows a certain level of groundness to his mentality. And the fact that he's working away from the building, right? It's not like he was sitting up this whole summer just wait for it to be handed to him. The guy was working his tail off. He was working his butt off, doing all these little side things, keeping his body in shape, paying out of his pocket to have his players, his wide receivers, to meet him in areas where he could throw the ball to them, where they can learn the nuances, the signatures of how these guys like to play, where they want the ball. And trust me, this will pay some dividends, because when the time comes, when they get into camp, this is when it's going to start to show the out of camp work, the private work is what I'm saying, between those players doing those side, exercises and stuff like that, shows that they're committed to winning. Because, all these other guys could have been sitting up doing whatever, but these guys were spending their own time and money in their own time trying to get better for the team. That's why I think that this is going to translate into winning. And not only that, but a lot of other things. And then the veterans like AK-41 and Cam Jordyn, they know it. They can feel it. It's an energy around the team, man. And the Who Dat Nation is excited about it. And it ain't about expectation. But we do know in the NFC South, where the NFC South is not a juggernaut, we do realize Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Atlanta are all trying to build themselves up. So everybody's kind of in the mix, kind of trying to get this thing together. And it just seems like the Saints are in the Carolina Panthers are these guys, we just, doing our thing. Now, we blinked and we swept the Carolina Panthers. They'll have it on their mind this year. just like we'll have it on our mind this year about them Falcons and how they swept the black and gold. We'll have it on our mind and pay them back in full. But nonetheless, it's an energy around the team, and I agree with you. I do think they're headed for breaking that 5-season rut of not making the playoffs. You know, I love the conditioning, the fact that we have so many players that are healthy for the start of camp, right? Just to be able to start off camp. We like McCoy, we got all these other guys. They're ready to go. Kendre Miller's ready to go. Jordyn Tyson is cleared to play. Chris Olave is ready. So just love what we're doing here. We just need to keep this stuff going through. But thank you, Jimmy. Shout out to you, brother. Appreciate you on that. All right. What's up, Black Major? All right. Shout out to you as well. Jaden says Q. My man, see that Pelicans have interested in, Benedict Mathurin. What do you think about this? And do you think a deal will happen? Yes or no? That's old school, old game right there about the Benedict Mathurin thing, the Pelicans. We cover that. For the family members that don't know, we do another Pelican. We do LSU stuff as well, but boxing, all that kind of stuff. But we have a channel, Pelican Post Game Report. We cover the New Orleans Pelicans news, notes, items similar to the Saints. Now listen, the Benedict Mathurin story, they've done this before. We've been here before where the Pelicans were interested in this guy. They were asking about what they want for him. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think it happens. You know, we'll see what happens, man, in the end. But I just think it's just more that people just saying about it because they want the Pelican faithful are so starved for news about the team to see if they're going to do something different because this has been a very unusual offseason for the Pelicans. The fact that they didn't sign any, new big name free agents to the team. The fact that the leadership says, man, listen, we have enough talent. We just needed to change and get a better coach who can develop the talent, give them the system. So pretty much what they said was Willie Green, Borrego wasn't crap. The little coaches wasn't crap. This guy is going to know what to do with this talent. I've never seen this before where a team didn't make any major moves and they just ran it back with the same team. Maybe if it was a winning team, but not if it was a team that won just 26 games. So even though I can understand what they're doing and see what they're doing, it's going to be extremely interesting to see how this is going to work. So we'll keep an eye on the Benedict Mathurin thing, bro. But I think if he leaves, he probably wants to go toward a more established winning club. Then, he goes from where he was from the Pacers to the Clippers. I'm pretty sure he might be looking to make a jump from either the Pacers to Miami or maybe to Philly, with LeBron and all that being up there. LeBron's over there now. All right. What's up, Hemisphere? Shout out to you, fam. Appreciate you. All right. Pelicans Nola says Zach Wilson should take over for QB2. Really? You think Zach Wilson beat out Spencer Rattler? Tell me why, Pelicans Nola in the chat. What's up, brother Corey? Shout out to Corey Covington. What's up, my boy? All right. What's up, Desi? Shout out to Desi. Appreciate you, Queen, for being in the building as well. All right. Yeah, we waiting for the Kellen Moore presser. We waiting to see if it's going to come on. And like Mickey was late, so is Kellen. All right, JT. What's up, JT? My dog, JT. Says, Q, we need them healthy coming out of camp, please. Yeah, I know, brother. I know. But like I said, I got faith in Ted and Ted Rath, our trainer, man, on the health staff. I just think that how we did it last year, where we were able to, we had a few bumps and bruises, but the Saints actually did well. But you're right. Training camp is hot this year, man. Is at, the city was like 107 degrees with the humidity. Yesterday and today, what is it today? They've been averaging in the hundreds with the humidity, right? So it's going to, not just that of the heat, but when we play these other teams and come out of the training camp, they might have a few bumps and bruises here or there, but nonetheless, the New Orleans Saints, man, they got to remain healthy, man. I think we got the staff to kind of keep these boys together, man. So, there's always injuries, bro. We just got to be a deep team to be able to deal with it. All right. Thank you, bro. All right. Appreciate you. All right. Brother James. What's up, Brother James? Shout out to you, my man. He says, he said, I do love being able to watch YouTube at work with no worry. Good time. Thank you, brother James. Appreciate you, my man. Appreciate the comment, man. And appreciate you listening at work. All right, Young City says, me and my brother going to be at the first. Okay, good. The Jacksonville. Okay, cool. Y'all let me know how y'all do up there. All right, Sean says, other than Olave and Vele, do you see any wide receiver from the 2025 roster making a 53-man roster or at least practice squad? If so, who? So other than last year's with Olave and Vele, do I see anybody from last year? Yeah, Jalen Polk. I actually think Jalen Polk makes the team from last year. I actually think that the New Orleans Saints will open up with 6 wide receivers. I really do think that. I think the Saints will carry 6 into the regular season. And when I say that, I mean 53, because people say, Q, they carry more. And I'm not talking about the practice squad additions. I'm talking about the 53-man roster outside of the practice squad. Yes, I do. I think Jalen Polk will be one of the guys from the 2025 receiver group that will make it. I think they got a plan for Jalen Polk. And remember, the Saints are going to, and sometimes it's some compensation for what happened. Because remember, last year we got 8. Our wide receiver room got 8 up. We got 8 up, and when Divine Valley, we lost a lot of speed. We lost a lot of Divine Valley was the biggest wide receiver we had when he got hurt in the year. So everything kind of downscaled. No disrespect to Kelvin Banks Jr., but Kelvin Banks Jr. to me is not more talented than and I don't want to say it because people say, Q, that might be a little bit premature because I've seen the man play. And I think once he's healthy, y'all going to see this guy is really a good wide receiver. It's the reason why he's a second-round draft pick. Now, we did see some good plays from Ronnie Bell. We did see some from other guys. But to answer your question from the 25 group, they have some guys that could impress. Now, we'll see exactly who those guys are because, remember, Baron Brown will be one of those guys barring injury because of his speed and the fact that I don't think the Saints expose him to the waiver wire. I think ultimately that he'll end up being one of these people that'll be one of the 6. And, of course, other ways to make it if you're not a top 3 wide receiver, you got to play special teams. So guys like Trey Palmer and others will have to play special teams. If Bryce Lance makes it, which I do think Bryce Lance is one of the 6 wide receivers, then he will have to play some special teams. He will have to more than you see what I'm saying? He will have to do some stuff. Now, like I said, I just love the wide receiver group, the youngsters, because what the Saints did was they added size and speed. So they have guys that are, Baron Brown's not a very big guy. He's only 5'11", less than 180 pounds, but his explosiveness, his field vision, what he can bring to your special teams unit, what he did from a special team standpoint. We remember guys like Deontay, oh my goodness, our guy Deontay Harris Hardy, because he changed his name. We remember guys like Rashid Shaheed. These were guys that were undrafted guys that came on the special team, but they were phenomenal in terms of what they did in college and special team level. Here's Kellen Moore, y'all. Let's listen.
Excited to be back. Excited for this opportunity to kind of get training camp started here in Metairie. We got an awesome setup here, obviously, being able to stay in-house and the fields and the setup for the fans, and it's a really cool opportunity for us. We're excited to have the fans here again throughout this entire process. Couple roster moves. Again, I think Mickey already hit a lot of these. Pups Mason Tipton, Keyshawn Silvers, NFIs Xavier Harris, and Cody Hardy. Then we did make one other roster move later today with Mike Reed being signed to corner, and then Beanie Bishop being the move there. Everyone else is available and ready to go, and so ready to rock and roll. I'll open up for questions.
How much different, or based on everything in training camp last year, are you changing anything this year besides like the extra joint practices, or are you just kind of running everything kind of very similarly?
Acclimation period is very similar. I think it's important to acclimate these guys. It's a unique setting, the way training camp's structured. You go from an extended break right into football activity, and so we all have to be really smart with how we progress these guys, and it's a team level and an individual level. And so once we get through that, then we get into the meat of training camp, the padded practices and all that, and we got to push ourselves in that phase. And so there'll be a lot of points of emphasis in there as far as the situational football and the themes that we're looking at. And then from that standpoint, once we kind of go through that phase, then we get into this awesome opportunity, which is essentially 3 joint practices and two preseason games within about a 10-day window there. So that'll be a great evaluation opportunity for us. And then the back end, we finish it off and get our eyes towards the regular season.
The team got the restructured deal with Kamara done. How important was that, and how important will it be to this offense this year?
Fired up, excited. Alvin means a lot to our organization, this community, obviously. These things sometimes take a little bit of time just to kind of work through, and Alvin was great about the whole process. I think communication was really good for everyone, and the conversation we were able to have, certainly over the summer, I think was great, and I think we're in a good spot. I think this running back room has a ton of talent. It's a really talented group. I'm excited to let training camp take its course to define roles and opportunities, but it's going to be a great group for us.
How much of that Alvin Kamara decision-making process that went on this whole offseason was you guys evaluating whether there was a role for him on this team, or you always, like, while installing your playbook, had something envisioned?
Yeah, I think that's a fair observation. I think you're always looking for a role for guys, and I think sometimes getting a chance to evaluate where our roster's at and who we have on the roster and how this thing's developing allows us to take a little bit of time to do that the right way. And there's a little financial part, obviously, that the business side had to take care of. And so I thought it was a really good process. We didn't anticipate necessarily Alvin doing as much in OTAs. So that kind of gives us a little bit of time to see some of these other guys and see how this would fit in this equation. And so we all feel really good about it.
Make adjustments now, though, like knowing for sure that he's here? I mean, because he's such a unique type of player. Did you already have everything that was going to be installed, or are there now different packages?
I think that's an ongoing process. I think early in training camp is still installation, so to speak. You're kind of teaching systems, getting guys comfortable. I think where you get into the player specific opportunities come a little later in training camp, and I think that's where certainly we will be excited to have those exploration phases when you have the running back room that we have. And so I think, we feel good about the roles and the opportunities that will be presented to these guys.
Get it done before camp, and I guess you can even throw Cam in there, getting it done in June. Like, knowing those issues, if you want to call them that, are resolved, what does that do for you as a coaching staff now and all that?
Anytime there's definition, allows us to build plans. It's the NFL. There's always a million moving pieces. That's just inevitable. These rosters are always moving, but Cam, Alvin, they're really talented players. They mean a lot to this organization. They mean a lot to this community. They do things the right way. And so we're excited to have both those guys.
With you guys being able to go out and get another running back, a couple tight ends, a few receivers, how much does the offense, does the offense change? Does it expand, or is it kind of making it all the same stuff, but you window dress it different? Like, what's the difference going forward?
I think there's more variables for us in a positive way. Certainly we've been able to feel that just being around OTAs and seeing the tight end room that we have, the running back room that we have. I think it's just going to be exciting to kind of build that as we go. Certainly there's things that we already feel comfortable, kind of diving into. There'll be things that I think that's the exciting part of training camp is you get to kind of evolve. OTAs is a awesome opportunity for us to get better as a football team and individuals, but it's not real football yet, and we're a little closer to real football, which is an exciting part, but that's where you kind of get to, get a better feel for it.
Well, going into camp, obviously knowing who the quarterback is going to be as opposed to last year, benefits that.
Yeah, I think just continuity. There's only so many reps. You just think about that. We got 10 installation practices, and then we're playing Jacksonville in a joint practice. There's only so many reps, and so anytime you can have more defined roles, it allows guys to work with the guys that you anticipate working, come September. And so I think that's a huge advantage.
To that point, Mickey just praised Tyler's initiative and race to be better. We talked about him and a lot of pass catchers going to the West Coast with Drew. What did you think about that? What was your appreciation with seeing that?
Yeah, I think it's just a awesome leadership example of what our football team looks like. Certainly, Tyler gets a lot of the lead on this thing, but for guys to want to go do things together, spend time together, do the extra work, that means a lot. It's the right kind of guys. It's a special group of guys. They know we did a lot of good work in OTAs, but to steal a few more days in the summer obviously is a huge benefit, and then we just got to keep it moving.
Kellen, what did you learn about your team off-season program, and what do you like about this team going into training camp?
I'd say they competed really well, connected really well. They put in a lot of time. Second off season is always going to be better, just because of the continuity and the expectations are more aligned, and everyone understands what to expect. But I felt like it was a good program. It put us in a good position. Now we obviously have to do the real football part moving forward.
What do you think of the chemistry that Chris and Tyler developed last year through, obviously they're very successful together, and what excites you the most about how they can kind of keep developing that chemistry this year?
I just say they've done an awesome job, continuing what they built on late last year. Chris had a phenomenal season. I thought Tyler finished off strong. That continuity is obviously a huge asset. You look at a lot of these top quarterbacks in this league, they got consistent guys around them a lot of times that they can, lean on and anticipate throws to these guys because they've spent so much time with them. And so they're just continuing to build. They're continuing to grow. Good job during OTAs. Off-season's been good, and now we're into training camp mode.
With the continuity that you have going from last year to this year and kind of the groundwork now that you have with the offense and defense, do you anticipate using more opportunity, or rather, what do you anticipate the sort of role of things like unscripted practices or unscripted sessions being this year?
Yeah, once you get through the initial stage, it becomes more free-flowing. Those joint practices obviously are good evaluations. We kind of view this almost as like 4 stages training camp is. There's the acclimation phase. There's kind of the compete stage, or the competitive stage where we got to go, push ourselves. Training camp's gonna be a little bit uncomfortable for everyone. That's just how it is. And then you get to go, evaluate yourself against, really good talented teams in these joint practices. And then after that, we kind of come back for a couple weeks to start moving our eyes to the regular season. So I feel like it's a good formula.
How do you guys manage the expectations now? Like, some people are picking you on big platforms, so do a lot of stuff. Tyler's got a lot of expectations. How do you guys manage that this year?
It's part of the NFL. You'd much rather have that than the other side of these things, and so that's what we all want. That's what we all expect, and so you understand the NFL season takes its course, and there's highs and lows, and I think the most important thing is that the guys just focus on the task at hand, get better each and every day. We'll get to the regular season when we get to that. That's still feels a long ways away. So we got some really good work ahead of ourselves, and if we just keep our eyes on that and focus on that, getting better, everything else will take care of itself.
Feel that shift at all? I mean, do you kind of recognize that expectations are higher here than maybe it was a year ago, at least from the outside?
I don't know. Every season it's the NFL. I mean, everyone has the same goals and aspirations in many ways. We want to be NFC South champs. Like, that's our goal, and then ultimately, obviously, we want to play February 14th. I think a lot of people have shared that in all 32 teams, the last couple days. We're all shooting for the same goals, and now it's about what you do each and every day and the preparation you make. And, once the regular season comes, there's a lot of things that come into that factor into it.
How do you balance, you just looked at the caution and the management you all have been doing with Jordyn Tyson versus, making sure he's ready to go, and doesn't have any ground to make up by the time y'all get to week 1?
I just think Jordyn's done an awesome job through this whole process. Every guy's in a different stage. Again, our objective is to be as healthy as we can in going into training camp, and then build from there. And so an acclimation phase, we all have to get acclimated over the next few days to get ourselves ready to play real football, which is, I'm trying to remember the date, August 3rd, I think. August 3rd is our first padded practice. So we got to build our guys up for that opportunity. And so I think Jordyn's done a nice job. He'll continue to be able to play football and keep building up the right way. And, all these guys, there'll be a few guys from whether it's medical or older players that, hey, we, manage them just a touch, but these guys are all ready to roll.
What do you anticipate his management will look like? Will he be out there as early as this week doing more?
Yeah, I think we'll see him playing football tomorrow. So he'll be ready to go, and we'll just build him up as we go, like any player. I mean, he didn't do a ton during OTA, so we got to build him up the right way, just like we will all these other guys.
Similar with Chris, or is Chris even more ready to do more early?
I think the same thing as far as just building someone up. I mean, Chris is in a great spot. He's doing an awesome job, and so he'll be ready.
Kendra Miller not to land on PUP coming off that torn ACL. Like, how's he doing, and what's it say about him that he didn't have to go on that at all?
Yeah, credit to him. Those are long journeys when you come off an injury like he had. Credit for him, our trainers, everyone who he's worked with to work really hard to put him in position to go compete for a job in August. And so you feel great about that. And I think he's going to do some really good things.
Hey, Kellen, are there any areas that you feel like you got better at since last season? Like something that you've improved on as a coach?
Personally, I think you're always just trying to get better. It's as simple as that. No matter what stage you're at, every year you're going to have things you like, things you don't like. Every meeting you're going to have things you like that you presented, don't like that you presented, and it's just about getting better. And I just love the offseason that we had because of the continuity and the consistency that we had, that we were able to really dig deep into what our season looked like last year, things that, both positively and things that you got to improve on. And then you also get to study, what the league looks like, because ultimately you're competing against 31 other teams. And so you got to see where they're at and what they're doing, and how can we grow as a football team.
Kellen, it seems like Tyler's really embraced the role as the leader of the team, especially now that he knows he's the starter. How do you expect that to show up during training camp? How does he lead this team through these next several weeks?
Yeah, I think Tyler's one example. I think for a lot of our guys, it's the leadership that you need. These are days where we have to build this thing up the right way, and we got to push ourselves through uncomfortable things. These guys haven't worn pads in a while, and so when you get to pads, like there's an acclimation, there's a getting used to the pad level, the physicality that this game requires, and we have to keep going. And so Tyler's a great example of everything that he's brought to this offseason has been excellent. From an offensive perspective, he'll continue to evolve as the leader of that group, and his communication and his ability to play at the line of scrimmage. That'll all be a growth opportunity this training camp.
How much clearer would you say the vision of an identity is for either offense or defense, really the full team, just going into this second year?
Yeah, I think time invested together, going back to last year, but then this offseason, I think our guys really have embraced the adjustments that you want to make, and so I think our guys know what we need to do. We know we did not start fast. We know we got to run the football better. We know we got to be more consistent stopping the run, week in and week out. We know that situational football is such an important part of this. The margins are really tight, and these end of game situations we got to master. And so I think we understand where we need to go, and we just got to get there.
And how would you describe when you think about where the identity is that you're starting camp with? What would you describe that?
Here you go, miss.
Just keep going. And so that's where you gain momentum when you invest that much time into it.
At the end of last season, do you feel like you reached kind of those pillars, smart, fast, physical? Like, was it all kind of that identity that you wanted to see?
Yeah, I felt like we're playing cleaner football. I think we needed to play smarter football. The penalties and the situational football got better. Obviously, we spent a lot of time investing in that, and then the play style of being physical, being able to run the football more efficiently, stop the run. I think we have some great examples of that late in the year. And then fast is just about these guys just playing confident and free. And I think our guys, we're finding that as we go.
I guess just to spin it forward, like, is there one of the three that you're really trying to hammer home this year, or right now? Kind of like, I'd like to see our physicality in the running game, for instance, or something like that.
I think all of it. Yeah.
I saw Josh Hill officially listed with the tight ends. Are there any other staff movements, configurations that have changed at all?
I don't think anything new. Obviously, Will Clapp would be our one main addition. him coming over during the offseason. But yeah, Josh has been kind of around it, a lot of last year, kind of being in the personnel department, but starting to evolve into the coaching side of this thing. And so Josh is special. He's one of the best all time. Great example for our players to see a guy, his career, and then his transition. I think he's awesome for these guys.
You mentioned starting fast or wanting to start faster this year. What are some of the things that you can do, and are there things that you can do in training camp to kind of help get you ready for that? Is that the thing you got to wait for?
No, mindset mentality right now. We're in the installation process, so it's about, the mindset mentality and getting used to, we got to start practice fast. And then there'll be certain periods and situations as training camp evolves where we put a little bit more focus on it. And then, there's plenty of stuff I've done through the off season where you're trying to study just the data and the scheme and all that sort of stuff of how we can do a better job here.
Kool-Aid recently made a comment about he thinks this offense is going to be very explosive.
Do a better job here.
Kool-Aid recently made a comment about he thinks this offense is going to be very explosive, but also his excitement to try to shut them down during training camp. Just from a coaching perspective, how do you sort of I'm sure you don't want one side of the ball just beating up the other. How do you? One side has a good day. Are you worried about that? What's that balance?
That's how training camp is. One side wins, one side loses, and they're both on your side at the end of the day. So, I think the goal at the end of the day of training camp is it's an opportunity for these players to learn and grow. So, not expecting it to be perfect. I'm expecting them to have good moments, and I'm expecting them to test their boundaries and make a mistake. And I think that's an important part of what training camp is. And so just like during the day, I think at the end of the day, you hope that there's days or periods where offense does well, then defense does well, then offense does well, then defense does well. Same thing in special teams when you rep those periods that one side is successful and then the other side responds the right way. And so that's just what you're looking for.
Maybe the benefit of having so many joint practices that you kind of get a measuring stick where it's not just your guys.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. It'll be a change of environment, change of scenery, so to speak. Second off season, so I think our team's more ready for it. And you'll get some different looks, different personnel, different presentations. Again, a lot of it goes back to getting your starters and that first group really ready to play football come, whatever the second week of September.
I found the conversation around the league.
Sorry, did you have any special message for the team we talked to in the team meeting? Any point of emphasis you want to set the tone?
I think the biggest thing is just we have a plan. Let's execute the plan. We've put a lot of work into this thing. We've put ourselves in excellent position coming off of OTAs in the summer, and now it's about really focusing on this training camp. The season will come, eventually. We got to get better, and we got to focus on this plan, and we got to have purpose with it, and we got to test ourselves. Training camp. When you're in Metairie in training camp, it's going to be hot and humid, and there's going to be some adverse elements in that. Also putting pads on, that's an adverse element when you haven't done it for a while. And so we got to be comfortable being uncomfortable a little bit and push our boundaries a little bit, and that the joint practice will lead into that as well.
You mentioned that you had some players obviously you have to manage their reps in camp for age or whatever reason. Is Eric McCoy one of those players coming off those injuries?
I think any guy that's, I'm going to say 8+ years, they've played a lot of football in the NFL, and so you're always going to be smart with those guys. Everyone's on different trajectory through training camp as far as where we're building them to. Some guys are obviously going to be competing at a high level through training camp. Some guys are getting ready for, early September. And so, Eric's done an awesome job. through this whole offseason program. He's in an excellent spot. He's, we'll probably have to make sure he's, maintaining this thing the right way, and so he's ready to go.
All the kind of conversation and emphasis around the multi-tight end sets around the NFL, what are you hoping to see from your room here?
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet base. In. A reality right now.
Play split out. I think that's where the power of that position comes up when you have guys that can line up in a number of different ways.
Kellen, because it's been a focus of yours since you got here, just curious, team building activities, what's the schedule look like? What's coming up?
Yeah. Training camp's really about getting ready for football. We'll still have a couple items, but, OTAs, we kind of utilize a little bit more time for that. And then training camp, we'll still have a couple opportunities to kind of spend time. I think a lot of what training camp creates is a day where guys are just around each other a lot. And so it's a lot more organic as far as spending time together. When you practice in the morning, you have a little idle time before meetings in the afternoon. These lunches, these dinners, we got a great cafeteria here, so guys get to hang around, and it's perfect.
You were saying that for the team you guys want to be next season, that like your young guys are gonna have to make a leap. And I'm wondering, I know that like is the case for every team across the NFL, but I'm just curious on like after the season you guys had, is that an emphasis for you? Or are you excited to see it? Well, what's kind of your mindset going into trying to have these guys take the next step?
Yeah. I just say everyone has to grow. Everyone has to, whether you played last year or didn't play, you got to get better during training camp. You got to be ready to go. And I'd say from a big picture perspective, there's always, people sometimes call the second year jump, those guys who play last year as rookies, that rookie year. Some of these rookies are going through it now. You go right from your season right into the combine training, right into the draft, OTAs, summer they get a couple weeks, and they're right into the season. There's a lot going on. And then those guys who come back after that first season, it's like, all right, I got a whole off season to like kind of train myself, get into the system. I'm not learning a bunch of new stuff. I'm building off of what I learned my rookie year. And so I think that goes for a lot of guys.
When there is a trend like the 3 tight end thing, like, are you looking at everything the Rams do, like their run game behind it, like all the duo stuff? Like, is it all of it, and you kind of just see what pieces fit? Like, how do you adopt something like that?
Yeah. Usually you're going to try and watch a number of teams, in those spaces. Studied a lot of league. I think studied as much of the league this year as ever, which has been a lot of fun, I think, for our coaching staff in all 3 phases. I think we've studied football really, really diligently. And so the Rams have made headlines for 13 personnel. Get it. They had a ton of success, and, the numbers obviously, show that. A lot of other teams that did it and, maybe slightly different ways. And so you're kind of constantly trying to look at, what can probably be best implemented for our football team and tying it together. And so, I think it's been a lot of fun.
Are you married to like a very specific way of doing things, or are you kind of open-minded, like a new idea can open new things up? Like some people have their system and then other people are like adaptable and change. Like how do you?
Yeah. I think I've called plays in 5 systems now. So I like to say I'm pretty bilingual in football languages. So, I think it's important to be able to adapt and adjust while still being defined, and I think that's always the balancing act. And I'm not going to say, it was perfect every year that I've ever coached. We've had good years. We've had years where we probably could have done a better job of that. And so I think the flexibility is important for us. And I'm excited with where our roster's at, with the type of players we have, with the versatility that that's going to provide. Kind of let training camp take its course and then define what those roles look like moving forward.
How different do you expect your offense to look this year compared to last year?
I think you're always trying to evolve. Every year should look a little different. I think that's an important part. Every top offense is evolving every year because the defense has spent the whole offseason looking at all those same offensive trends too. So they figured out which teams stop those trends. They're going to focus on that as well. And so it's just a fun back and forth in this league.
And you see that similarly for like Brandon Staley and his defense and how that changes from year to year?
For sure. Again, there's teams that, trust me, everyone's watched Seattle's defense. Everyone spent a lot of time looking at that defense and that structure because they had so much success this year. And the year before, everyone watched, the Philly film on defense and Vic Fangio and those type of defenses. And so everyone's just trying to grow and learn. Everyone's trying to be the best at their profession. And so because of that, you just got to keep growing.
We saw Senker and the Star throughout the spring. I mean, now that camp is here, do you experiment with putting different guys there to see different looks, or do you want? How are you kind of approaching?
The goal is to get Jonas as much exposure there as we can. His versatility obviously is a huge asset. He played on the back end and played really well there. There'll be other guys that have to play star as well. That's just inevitably what training camp and preseason looks like, and so we'll train plan.
Whoa. What's that? I just built a budgeting app in Base 44. Guys.
And so Justin Reed will be here shortly, and Hunter Deckers. So, but it's not really noteworthy. That'll be fine.
They're just having Hunter go back and forth.
Yeah, they're just yeah.
Kellen, do you want to spend a certain amount of time outside? You're talking about pushing the team.
Yeah.
Is there a certain goal you have at all?
The goal is to be outside as much as we can. I think outside of one practice we have allocated for inside, like pre-allocated. Everything else, the goal will be outside, and we'll adjust. We understand the weather's going to be an element of this. I feel like we were probably fortunate last year. I feel like August wasn't quite as hot as maybe the usual, and so we'll make adjustments here and there. If we hop in a little bit, maybe we start practice inside and then transition out, or if we have to, let the weather dictate whether we can be outside or not. So we follow kind of the rules and the parameters of that.
Big hit with the players last year with the focus on recovery built into the schedule and kind of those gaps and things like that. Do you anticipate that remaining this year, or any adjustments?
Daily schedule's very similar.
Did you have surgery on this video?
Yeah, he just had an off-season deal, so he's just working through it still.
Thanks, Coach Moore. Just to make sure we say that correctly. There was a surgery.
Yeah.
And that was part of it.
All good.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right, shout out to Kellen Moore. That's Coach Moore, man, doing his presser right here. Shout out to the Mighty Who Dat Nation. Appreciate y'all for being in the Sports Coma in the building. Big Q. Much love to the fam. Had a little snafu, man, while I lost my camera. Like I said, I'm on the road. But big ups to you guys. Appreciate y'all for being in the stream. Some information, man, to take out of that with Kellen Moore that will kind of do a synopsis over the entire situation. But he did talk about the fact that the Saints did sign a new player to the team. Let's delve right into it. The player's name is Mike Reed, right? They signed Mike Reed to the team. And Mike Reed is a cornerback. He played with a couple other squads as well, 6'2", 200 pounds. Age 24, from Maryland. You can see his college stuff right there. Production, 171 total tackles, 40 pass defense, and 5 picks in college. His honors, you can see it as well. 2-time All-CAA, All FC second team, Mountain. All newcomer honors, highly experienced 5-year defender. his strengths as far as with the Saints concerned. Bringing him in, he's a elite boundary frame, disruptive ball skills, physical run support, outside cornerback versatility, and has special teams upside. The areas to watch: top end recovery speed, hip transition to speed, jump from the FCS competition, penalty discipline, must prove himself throughout camp. The NFL Outlook says a high upside depth corner and core special team member. Remember, the Saints ultimately brought him in here and released Beanie Bishop. Now, remember, Beanie Bishop was a guy that was suspended. You know, he was the guy that was suspended instead of the Saints waiting out of his suspension. The Saints simply just signed another veteran cornerback and Mike Reed to replace Beanie Bishop. So this is the latest and newest member of the Who Dat Nation. So that's two. That's one of the newest things that Kellen kind of dropped on us, bringing it in as the Saints have a new defensive back, Mike Reed. So welcome in Mike Reed and appreciate him coming into the Who Dat Nation. It's camp time, man. So we got a lot of stuff to kind of get into, man, to kind of recap this thing. But yeah, it's going to be interesting for the black and gold. So Kellen kind of talked about a few things, stuff that we already knew. No real shockers or surprisers. Thank goodness in terms of guys not being here. Most of the guys that are going to be here are, you know, the Kendre Millers, the who else? The Devin Neals, the you know, some of the other players that we might. Vernon Brockton, he's going to be available. Chris Olave's good. Jordyn Tyson is good, barring a ramp up. Then you look at Eric McCoy, he's good. So all of the guys that we talked about in terms of health from last year, our tackles like Tolly and Kelvin Banks Jr., they were nicked up. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's healthy. The top starters are available, and our key reserves. A lot of our key reserves are also available as we get down to business. So that is also very positive as the Saints open up the training camp as well. So good deal, and good deal again by the black and gold. Now let's kind of talk, because Kellen Moore kind of hit on some of this stuff, and we talk about with some of the reporters and what they were talking about, and we talk about some of the situational stuff, which was really egregious for the black and gold. And we'll then, of course, hit them with some of the identity stuff, because the reporters did a really wonderful job in terms of just talking about the identity of the team. With Kellen Moore plus Doug Nussmeier has this modern Air Coryell attack that this is what the identity of the Saints team is. Like, we know that they are a vertical team. They want to get vertical, meaning they want to stretch. I always talk about S&S, which is stress and stretch the defense, stretch out the defense. When we stretch out the defense, that creates lanes and routes in between that we can find intermediate stuff and get that going. And it just open up space. And when you have runners like Travis Etienne Jr. or Alvin Kamara, these are space eaters. They love the space because they have a great degree of shake you out your shoes elusiveness that really serves them well in that space type situation. It puts a lot of pressure on tacklers to make one-on-one open field tackles. A lot of them can't do that. Some can, but a lot can't. So the identity here, when we talk about some in stages of what the Saints are looking to improve upon, at least the elite edge protection is number one, which we have the twin tackle foundation of Tali Fuaga and Kelvin Banks Jr. The bookend first round tackles, the addition of David Edwards added inside at the left guard position brings in great value in terms of what the Saints are doing. And what I mean by great value, I mean the fact that the New Orleans Saints know that Edwards, who has a Super Bowl with the Rams, has a lot of experience, and the fact that he will help young players like Tali Fuaga and Kelvin Banks Jr., and even to a degree Cesar Ruiz, to develop in the time that he has here the next couple of years in terms of Cesar Ruiz. And then, of course, you look at the bruising physical front. That's what we're looking at. And the mission, erase last year's protection problems and keep Tyler Shough clean. If we can do that, then you'll see a lot of success from the Saints offense. Number two, downfield explosiveness, the verticality, the vertical receiver duo of Chris Olave and Jordyn Tyson. Jordyn Tyson selected 8th overall, speed at both wide receiver spots, stress every coverage shell. Olave last year, 100 catches, over 1,100 yards, did a wonderful job. The Saints ultimately will pay him between now and the start of the regular season, according to the insiders. Number 3, the ground game and heavy personnel packages. The two-headed backfield of Travis Etienne Jr. and Alvin Kamara, efficient interior rushing, play action from heavy sets, 3 deep tight end room as well with Juwan Johnson, Noah Fant, and Oscar Delp. And at times, Matavo could be thrown in the mix too to create a 4 tight end look. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So protect Shough, attack vertically, and dominate with the play action is some of the stuff we want to talk about when we talk about the upgrades and the blueprint or the completed look of the house that is what Kellen and Nussmeier are building in terms of our offense, right? And of course, these are some of the stuff right here that also kind of pay attention to, fam, about the 2025 situational and team statistics. Full season versus the Shough surge, right? Full season NFL rankings. The scoring offense, 18 points a game, 28th. Offensive EPA, as you can see, was 27th. The red zone TD percentage, dead last in the NFL. This is Saint stats. The pass block win rate, 29th. The rush success rate was 28 with 3.7 yards per carry. Now, the Tyler Shough effect, when he stepped in, while a lot of people were really excited about him, that a lot of stuff turned around, not fast, but over time gradually, and became top 10 worthy, right? The late season red zone unit was top 10. The third down rate down the stretch improved 50%. That's just immediate. And then, of course, we talk about the intermediate passing situation was 0.65 EPA per dropback, which was 118.5 passer rating on what they call chunk throws. So the bottom tier offense overall, clear late season improvement with Tyler Shough. These are some of the numbers, just a sample size of some of the numbers in review about what Tyler Shough was able to do with the Saints offense down the stretch when the offense started to gain legs with a lot of the backup players. We're talking about backup third and fourth string running back. He was actually fourth string. Audric Estime running the football. Fifth string, Evan Hall was the back behind him that they would switch out with. We were already down to our, 5th string wide receivers. Come about Kelvin Banks Jr. got down to the 6th, the 7th. With a lot of these guys, Ronnie Brown and all these other guys, these guys didn't see times. These were practice squad players. We were all the way down there. So, and a lot of these statistics flow with some of these practice squad guys. So imagine what it looked like with bona fide top-notch talent, a top-tier talent on top of the team. Try saying that 5 times in a row. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all twists and turns and moves forward. So to kind of recap the stream, training camp presser notes, if you want to talk about it, with Will Slick Mick Loomis. Yeah, hold on now, goddammit. Chris Olave's extension, we're just not there yet. Goddammit, I ran out of clam chowder just about to close it for you. But Chris Olave extension, we're not there yet, according to Mickey Loomis, during his portion of the interview. And of course, number 2, Jordyn Tyson cleared. He passed the conditioning test and is good to go for camp. Ramping him up gradually remains a possibility, according to Mickey Loomis. Player status, the PUP list, defensive lineman Keyshawn Silver and wide receiver Mason Tipton are on the PUP list. And an active list is defensive lineman Xavier Harris. Really wanted to see him. And Cody Hardy, the tight end, is on that list. Offensive vision, we talked about that. According to Mickey Loomis, the idea was get more explosive on offense over the last couple of years, meaning last year and this year for the black and gold. Right. And of course, we talked about it once again, the addition of it. The Saints got rid of Beanie Bishop, who was under suspension. They got rid of him, released him, and signed in his stead the Saints signed defensive back Mike Reed, who had stops with Carolina. And you can see his docket right here. He's going to be brought in to occupy or to be one of the players that the Saints kind of utilize. I guess I could say he'd be one of these players the Saints utilize in a backup role or whatever, however you want to phrase it. But that is something that the Saints have recently admitted to. And man, listen, all I can tell you is in the end of the day, man, the Saints are doing some stuff. So matter of fact, let me share with you guys the official. Let me see if I can show you. They actually admitted. They actually showed the. Hold on, let me get it up here for you. They actually showed the. Hold on, here we go. There it is. That's transaction alert from the Saints showing you that they did sign Mike Reed. Here it is right here. Mickey Loomis announced today that the club signed Mike Reed and waived cornerback Beanie Bishop prior to the start of training camp. The team also placed tight end Cody Hardy, then defensive lineman Xavier Harris on the active non-football injury list, and placed defensive lineman Keyshawn Silver and wide receiver Mace Tipton on the physically unable to perform list, of affectionately known as the puppy list. And of course, here's Mike Reed, 6'2", 200 pounds, was originally signed by Carolina back in 2025 as an undrafted free agent out of South Dakota. In 2025, he had stints with the Panthers, the Seahawks practice squads, and re-signed with Carolina following the season. All right, the Maryland native played 5 years at college football, spending 4 campaigns at Monmouth from 2020 to 2023 and 2024 at South Dakota. Over his career, we showed you 170 tackles, 126 of them solo, 4.5 stops for a loss and a sack, 40 pass defense, 5 picks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. He's really good at defending pass, really getting those PDs. In 24 at South Dakota, he was named or earned all Missouri Valley Football Conference second team accolades. Was named to the FC all newcomer team when he played 14 games, 13 starts at corner, and finished for 44 tackles, a team leading 2 picks at Monmouth. He was a 2-time all CAA selection in 22 and 23, and 2023 he led the team with 8 pass breakups and added 30 tackles, including 3 stops for a loss. So he ain't one of these guys that's shy to stick his nose in there and make a play. So Mike Reed, 6'2", 200 pounds, physical cornerback. The Saints bringing in physical cornerbacks with size and tackling ability. So Mike Reed, welcome on in to the Who Dat Nation, man. So there you go right there. That's the newest member of your team, Who Dat Nation. All right, anyway, with that being said, fam, let me get through a few of these questions and then we'll kind of skedaddle. If you got any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. If you're listening, give me a hype the stream, man. Give me a like, and then if you're not a sub, hit the sub button, man. It's about to get real funky in the Who Dat Nation. A lot of great stuff about to get the popping and snapping. We are here, camp kicking off. Kids about to go back to school. It's football time again, my peoples. All right. Shout out to you guys. All right, let me see here. I got another question. Brother James asked, how do you think Kendre Miller will be utilized this season? Do you think there's a plan for him? Yes. Well, that was the thing about Kendre Miller. It's hard to kind of plan for somebody that's not there, right? So when he was clear, because a lot of people were looking at Kendre Miller and seeing if he was going to be available because Devin Neal is. So there's a competition there. Remember, Kendre Miller is not Kellen Moore's guy. Devin Neal is. So in terms of the reserve, so you got Travis Etienne, that's his featured back that fits his modern Coryell system. Then of course you got Alvin Kamara, who's the mentor, who still has a lot to offer, is the ultimate complimentary back. He works with anybody. He'll be there. And of course, Devin Neal showed some promises last year before he got hurt. So Kellen likes Devin Neal. Devin Neal's the Kansas the Kansas Jayhawks all-time leading rusher, which is a good accomplishment for him to have. So he has a lot of talent. So obviously Kendre Miller and Devin Neal, 2 different type of backs. We know Devin has a little bit more elusibility, a guy that can do stuff out the backfield, this sort of thing. Kendre Miller at this point with a lot of the limiting injuries, Kendre Miller's power game to him, he can also catch the ball out the backfield with motivated. He's a force when he's healthy. How have these injuries slowed Kendre Miller down? It was at one point, we talked about this before, where guys thought Kendre Miller coming out of TCU early on was going to be the heir apparent to Kamara. Didn't work that way. But Kendre Miller has this final year to show itself. So it'll be a battle between Kendre Miller, Devin Neal. Remember, Ty Chandler was also thrown in the mix as well to see what he could do. So really, but truthfully, it's between Kendre Miller and Devin Neal. A lot of people think Kendre Miller right now is leading for that third running back spot. And I think he fits that because you would like to have somebody with his ability and his gift. If I have to say one thing about Kendre Miller that he's really good at is his ability to make you miss on the first attempt to tackle him. He has that really well. He has that hit that hole and then that stop and then the guy dives and he can move them feet and just power forward and fall forward. So his ability to kind of put that little move on you and make you fall down and then power forward, always falling forward. Would love to see what Kendre Miller look with health, with a healthy offensive line and him being healthy. Some people believe that he's the guy right now that's holding the third spot. Devin Neal's competing with him, so it'll be interesting. We'll see how they utilize him, man, because if he's healthy, bro, he's a force at that running back position. All right, thank you, brother James. Appreciate you, man. All right, all right. I don't know how to say your name, my friend. Ilsgren Gree, or I'm sorry if I butchered the name. Says you think Aaron Donald will come back for the Rams. Hey man, listen. Every day that gets close and close, if he don't come back for training camp, it might be something for the season because the Rams have, a lot of people believe the Rams are the team to beat in the NFC. With what they were able to add, they gave, the quarterback another year, gave him big money to come back. A lot of people believe that the Los Angeles Rams are the team to beat. But Matthew Stafford, I know they picked up Ty Simpson to be the future at the quarterback position, but Matt Stafford got the extension for the extra year. Kyron Williams is awesome. Blake Corum is awesome. Puka Nacua, he's awesome. Devontae Adams is healthy. He'll be there. Can Jordan Whittington and the rest of these guys provide some backup? Can he help in the slot? Can these other guys behind him like Xavier Smith, CJ Daniels, could they step up? Could they do something? Cody Parkinson at the tight end position. They still got Tyler Higbee. Their offensive line is still a very solid unit. And then one of the biggest additions that they added to the defense to help Braden Fisk, the kingpin, they added, the likes of Myles Garrett. That's crazy. But they already had good pushers up front like Fisk and Byron Young. Those guys are actually pretty decent. Beyond decent, if you ask me. But they have a very solid unit of players that it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But a lot of people believe that the Rams is the team to beat in the NFC. Now, Aaron Donald will come back. If he decide to come back, that would make it a very interesting prospect for him to do. But like I said, he keeps himself in shape. We'll see how they handle it on that end, my man. But if he does come back, I think if he wanted to come back, now would be the time because Stafford's time's running out. We know Myles Garrett is there. I think ultimately at some point Aaron Donald will come back. I'm going to keep it all the way real, which thanks for the question. Richard says the draft picks will make it. Then that just leaves one spot if they keep 6 wide receivers. Yes, I believe they keep 6. I do think they'll keep 6 wide receivers because, and like I said, remember, it's always some overcompensation. When you had all of the running backs that got hurt, watch how they handle running back position this year. The wide receivers are a big part of what Kellen Moore does. The tight ends are going to be a big part. Don't be surprised if he keeps 6 wide receivers and 4 tight ends. Just saying, because the tight end package is going to be a big part of the red zone stuff that happens with Tyler Shough when they get in the short yardage situations. That those tight end packages, whether they're 2, 3, and 4, those are going to be a part of Kellen Moore's offense this year, especially when you get down in the red zone or in short situations where you need 1 yard or you're on the goal line, right? It's going to be interesting. Pelicans Nola says, everybody hit the like button. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Thank you, Pelican Nola, for doing that. Brother DeWright, shout out to you, my man. I appreciate you, bro. Who that to you, my man? All right, it's time, man. It's time when Brother DeWright's in the chat, man. It's time. All right, English says, when things start heating up on Saints coverage, Big Hugh is the one to come to. All right, thank you, man. Yeah, I take pride in, I was telling my girl, I take pride in it because the Sports Coma is the #1 independent, longest-running Saints podcast and Pelican podcast in the land. I started both of them well over a decade ago. I started off podcast, and then I brought it on over to the YouTube platform. But the Sports Coma has been keeping it real deal spiel on Saints and Pelicans for a while. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. All right, Richard adds, I think one of the biggest questions around the success this year is online performance. If they can run the ball and protect the passer, I think the outside of injuries is the best way to 10-plus wins. Okay, thank you. Appreciate you, Richard. Yeah, the biggest question is success is the online performance, the on-field performance, if they can run the ball and protect the passer. Yeah, this is big. Remember, I just showed the stats of the Saints. That's one of the ugly things that really kind of hurt the Saints last year, insofar as when we talk about what they could not do in terms of running the football. Remember how we talked about early on, they were bad at a lot of things, right? You know, they were bad at a lot of things, but what made people have hope is how they changed their play, because they literally gained the identity right in front of us. They literally found the franchise quarterback in front of us. And then the guy took hold of Kellen Moore's system. The guy working with Kellen Moore's system during during the offseason. So I don't expect Tyler Shough to be Drew Brees in year 2. But what I'm saying is, with anything, you got to give them help. You got to give them help. So the Saints, credit to them, understood where they failed at. They understood that they needed to protect him because he got hit too much last year. So they got David Edwards here. They put pressure on Cesar Ruiz, and they got McCoy back healthy. That's huge. That's huge, right? They added a feature back, somebody that can carry that is a perfect complement for for Tyler Shough's ability. And don't forget, Tyler Shough also can run. Tyler Shough is not a statue. Tyler Shough can throw. He can make all the throws, whether they short, intermediate, or make the deep throws downfield. That's why you get them speed demons to run up under the ball. He don't have to be deadly accurate. Just throw the ball in their vicinity, and Chris Olave going to run up under it. Throw the ball in their vicinity, Divine Vele is going to go and get it. Throw the ball in their vicinity, and Jordyn Tyson going to go up and get it. Throw the ball in the vicinity, and Bryce Lance is going to go and track it down. You see what I'm saying? So Travis Etienne's another one of those guys. You could throw the ball off as Travis Etienne in space. He's elusive. He can make something shake with that. He can also run in between the tackles, you know. And plus, if you're using Alvin Kamara and Travis Etienne Jr. together, that's a whole new weapon, because you can spread one out like a wide receiver and have one as a running back behind Tyler Shough. They wouldn't know what to do with that, because both of them have similar skill sets. And another thing that's positive is, if one of them gets hurt, God forbid, you don't lose the versatility of having a multi-purpose back. If one gets hurt, you don't lose the plays that you like to use with a versatile back. You just put one versatile back in for another. And that's the thing that the Saints are really kind of changing on, that I see that's really important. So you got to get a man help, and I've seen them giving them help. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it, man. Tim Dunn says, Q, who's your money on to be the kicker? I still got Charlie Smith, bro. I still got Charlie Smith. Now listen, I went and watched Tanner Brown, his highlights, and I watched the championship game with Louisville, winning that UFL championship. And Tanner Brown got some talent, but the UFL and the NFL is two different leagues, and you kicking under two totally different pressure, right? So you have Charlie Smith, and Charlie Smith's, the Saints gave him a multi-year contract. The Saints did the same thing with Tanner Brown. But what the Saints are doing, this is that final experiment where they have these inexperienced kickers. They're trying to save money on, if this fails, then what's going to end up happening is Saints is going to go to the free agency and sign a kicker. Remember, they brought in your boy, the former Atlanta kicker. They brought him in here. I forgot the man's name, but they brought him in here. What is it, Young Wei Koo? Yeah, Young Wei Koo. They brought in Young Wei Koo here to kick with him, and I thought, oh man, we got him in. That guy was phenomenal with Atlanta until he wasn't. But that didn't work. The Saints ultimately decided to kind of go in a different direction. They had another kicker here, and when Tanner Brown popped up, the Saints jumped right on him. They thinking they might have found something in Tanner Brown. He's very interesting, man, but I got to go with Charlie Smith for right now. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate the question, man. All right, big ups to you. English says, when things started, okay, thank you, bro. I appreciate it. I think I read that already. All right, appreciate you. All right, any more questions? English asked the question, what's the competition at safety going to look like this camp? The competition at safety is, or at the star position, well, I'll cover all of them. The safety position is going to be Justin Reed and Julian Blackman, right? That'll be your two safeties. Now, the star player is Jonas Sanker. Right now, Jonas Sanker has a foot stronghold on the position. I ain't say stronghold but he's the leader right now in terms of the star position. Now, Jordan Howden, Lorenzo Styles Jr., and don't even think for a second that Michael Reed, another guy they just put on the team, he won't be thrown in the mix to compete for that position. But right now, Jonas Sanker is right now kind of ahead in the game. But you'll see Jordan Howden get an opportunity. You'll see Lorenzo Styles Jr. more than likely get an opportunity as well to compete there. But for right now, those are your three safeties: Blackman, Reed, and Sanker. Right? Those are your three. Well, your two safeties in your star. Right? Thank you, English. All right. Shout out to you guys. What's up to Don Dotto? What's up, fam? Appreciate you, man, for being in the stream as well. But yeah, that's what I got for y'all on this one, man. So a lot of positive stuff today. Good hearing from Slick Mick Loomis and Kellen Moore breaking the team down. They helped set up the start of camp. We covered the fact that the Saints signed a new defensive back to add him onto the team. We covered the fact that the talking points from Slick Mick Loomis and what they're bringing in and what they want to see. We talked about the inactives, guys like Xavier Harris and Cody Hardy that are not going to be in camp. PUP list, Keyshawn Silva and Mason Tipton starting off on the PUP list. So we'll see how some of these players progress as we move further into training camp and ultimately into preseason and see if all this sticks and stays. All right, so with that being said, man, listen, I appreciate each and every last one of y'all for chiming in. Hit the hype button, man, for the stream. Hype us up, hype us up, hype us up. Also, if you're not a subscriber, sub up to the Coma, man. We back at it. We back at it. It's Saint time, man. The Saints training camp is underway. We see multiple pictures of people pulling up at practice, and the Saints are guys coming in, Cam Jordan and the lights walking up. And, man, listen, like I said, it's all about starting. We back at it again, man, and it's football time in the Big Easy. All right, so with that being said, that's all I got for you, man. Listen, I'm going to holler at y'all on the next one, man. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share the stream, and hype the stream, man. And also, by the way, shout out to our YouTube and membership family as well for all the things that you do and how you do and when you do, because you help the stream in a terrific fashion, man. So I appreciate y'all. With that being said, I'm going to holler at y'all on the next one. Much love, peace, and who that takes.
Yeah. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Yeah. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your chain for the championship. Fucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, then you probably smell the crooked referees or Roger Goodell. Yeah, probably like this, and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this, and I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Hey, New Orleans! Whether you're catching up on Saints news at Jackson Square, checking Pelicans scores in the Garden District, or staying updated on LSU while grabbing coffee in the French Quarter, there's one place that keeps you connected to everything that matters in our city. From Bourbon Street to the Superdome, from Preservation Hall to the riverfront, New Orleanians are staying in the know with thehootitdaily.com. Your daily source for Saints, Pelicans, LSU, and all the sports, music, and culture that makes our city special. At work downtown, at a game in the Dome, or just relaxing by the Mississippi, wherever life takes you in the Big Easy, you can stay connected. Because when you're from New Orleans, you don't just live here. You stay in the NO. That's stay in the know. Visit theWhoDatDaily.com and never miss what matters most to Who Dat Nation.
Welcome to the Pro Shop, where we create authentic NOLA-inspired clothing for men, women, and children. From Saints jerseys to Pelicans gear, everything's crafted right here in New Orleans. Whether you're shopping the Pro Shop, the Pel Shop, or the Pro Shop Kids, we've got your whole family covered with genuine merchandise that represents our city's spirit. Check for links in the description section below or in the chat.